section in the ordinance. Basically, I updated some of the dates on there. We removed the old 1988 dates and replaced it with effective date of this ordinance. This keeps the code from becoming outdated every time we update it. I allowed for basic maintenance, so we added language to make it clear that people can maintain and repair their property. This basically just avoids confusion where someone may think they're violating the code just for fixing something. I did increase expansion from 25% to 50%. This would increase how much a non-conforming structure can expand. The current 25% is a little restrictive, especially for a rural county. So this allows people to make reasonable improvements to their homes or buildings. It still has a cap, though. Making sure that nonconformities do not get worse. So we added language that says any expansion cannot make the nonconformity worse. This keeps things from getting out of hand. So to go back to that expansion part from the 25% to the 50%, and then piggybacking with the making sure nonconformities don't get worse. I know that can be a little bit confusing, but basically what that means is if someone were to, let's say you have a business and you were trying to have an addition on your business, and let's say that it was a heavy industrial area at one point, and now it's abutting a residential area, and you have no buffers. That means that it would trigger you to follow the current zoning code and add those buffers. So I know sometimes it's like, well, it's 25% to 50, but we're also making sure that they come into compliance where they can. Let's say that they expanded their lot or their building on their lot and they weren't meeting setbacks. At that point, they would have to get a variance to meet setbacks. But what we're seeing currently is that people are getting just rezonings for simple additions or simple anything they're trying to do on their lot. So I just wanted to clarify that part, and I can also edit that in the drafts and clarify it more. Tying decisions to the comprehensive plan. So we just added language to make sure that the decisions looked at alongside, that the decisions are looked at alongside the comprehensive plan and the future land use map. We extended the abandonment time. In the current code, the cutoff is 6 months. So we extended it to 12 months just to give them a little bit more time. Especially in rural areas, a lot of businesses may sit inactive for a while just because some of the businesses are seasonal.
Is there any, and you may have you mentioned they had a business that conformed at one time and now that it's changed. And they need to change their business in some way. And you said they have to they have to conform based on the buffers or whatever. Is there any grandfather, any type clause? That's the straight line we're gonna have?
For the structure, not the use.
For what?
The structure, not the use.
Yeah, the zoning follows the property, not whatever's on the property, the people that are on the property.
But it's not gonna stop anybody from continuing what they're doing.
No, sir.
Akil, I sent some stuff to Pam and Tim and Michael today. Did they forward that over to you?
It was forwarded over to me, and I can go ahead and address those concerns if you'd like.
Sure.
All right. So starting with the first one, multiple dwellings on non-conforming lots. I understand this one is a little confusing. I just want to keep in mind, I want everyone to keep in mind that AR1 does allow for 2 dwellings. So what I'm thinking about for this part, and of course I think I can tighten up the language a little bit to make it a little more clear, but if I have a lot that's 4 acres on an AR1 and I just bought the lot, that person should be allowed to build by right on their lot. Just because it's non-conforming, they didn't choose, they didn't choose that. So as it stands now, they'll have to come and they'll have to rezone or subdivide and then make it work in some of the districts. So that's why I wrote it that way. This is a first draft, so going back and reading the language, I think it can be a little confusing, but that's what I was referring to. I was not referring to having an additional dwelling on an AR2, primary dwelling on an AR2, because as it stands, you can have a ADU on an AR2, but not a primary dwelling. So I'm not increasing density at all. I'm just saying that people should be allowed to use their their lot to their highest and best use. Does that clear everything up for you on issue 1?
Kinda. So what about AR3, for example? Would,
I mean,
if you
AR1.
had a 4-acre lot, that's, kind of that mid area, but what about a non-conforming half acre? What about a non-conforming acre lot? That's AR1 presently. How would you,
I wouldn't be allowing them to have multiple dwellings if that's not allowed by the underlining code. That's what it states in there.
if they were able to meet setbacks and all that, the way I interpret it anyway, if they were able to meet the setbacks, they would still have the ability of what we would call a traditional AR1. And I thought that we put language in AR2 and AR3 as pathways to get into conformance. And typically in some of the stuff that I provided you, through zoning professionals and all that, is that you don't want to keep adding to it. You want to, just like we're trying to get people to conform to our ordinances and comply with ordinances, it's like we're setting a speed limit on the road because it's, dictated by what's around it, if it's residential, if it's commercial. But then we're pulling the speed limit off some of the roads depending on, the type of property it is. Why are we not pushing them to conform to? If that's best practice for that type of.
Yeah, you are trying to get them to conform, don't get me wrong, but you also don't want to limit them from using their own property, because we see a lot in our department where someone buys a vacant lot and then when they try to build on it, based on the zone, they have to rezone. Now we have spot rezoning. So that's not, if we have spot zoning, that's not best practice. If we're looking at the same zoning professionals who wrote, what you probably read. So it's just trying to loosen it a little bit so that people can use their lots, but also keeping in mind that you will have to.
At what point do you put the due diligence on the person that's purchasing, though? Because if something is existing as it sits now, and as long as there's no, that's why I put the term development in there, it can stay as it is. The minute you try to do something to it, changes that, outside of the scope of, was it 25% or whatever that we have presently, then that, no different than a building code, if they're to do certain things and certain amount of improvements, that they have to come up to code on, whatever electrical codes and all that. I understand the intent. I don't understand why we would make it more flexible instead of pushing it into more uniform across.
Well, if I can add something too, we had a situation, I think it was, might have been over the summer, a year ago roughly, where we, at some point it was decided that, anyone who wants to do any changes on their property and it's non-conforming, whether it's a swimming pool or accessory unit or anything like that, that they were going to have to come into conformance and go through the rezoning process. It got an enormous amount of kickback, simply because, a lot of these folks who were on these properties didn't choose to be non-conforming. It was chosen for them when blanket zoning was applied, when zoning was established in the county. And so that's kind of when we started down this trail here. And I do agree that, there has to be some point where it just simply becomes too much, but where we said, all right, if it's a non-conforming lot, if it meets all of the requirements for what they're particularly doing, like a swimming pool or an ADU, and there were some other things, that they did not have to come into conformance, because it is it takes an enormous amount of time, because it is technically it's a rezoning.
Is that something we can do with those types of situations at a staff level?
No.
To write that into in the ordinance?
And that's something we discussed with the attorney at the time, is that since it's a rezoning, it has to go through the full rezoning process.
I'm saying if we put the language in to, for example, non-conforming properties that pulls, certain things that we see that we're seeing from data that's coming in that forces that potential rezoning, could we not isolate that out in a rewrite?
Well, we attempted to, right, where we said that, if the change you want to do meets the setback requirements, then we would, then you did not have to rezone and come into conformance. And I think what we realized was that we limited that to certain things, and that we wanted to kind of, rather than go in there and just put a Band-Aid on the ordinance, just go in there and make it clear across a wider spectrum of changes that you'd want for your property. I don't think we included stuff like ADUs and so on and so forth. And in some points, the setbacks are really a good measure, because you've got, in the case, if you remember, we had a cemetery case recently. That was an AR1, but that was like a half-acre lot or something to that effect. And, there are some AR1 properties out there, that don't fit into AR1, 2, and don't fit into anything AR, don't even fit into R1, right? Because of the zoning that was put on it when it was applied. And so, in those cases, because of the setbacks could never be met in those, in such small lots, it was a good way to, kind of automatically put those restrictions on.
Yeah.
I can't put a swimming pool in on my property because, even though it's an AR1, because it's not big enough for me to meet the setbacks. And so, that's kind of what we were basing it on. We were making you adhere to the AR, whatever your non-conforming district, which they're nearly all AR1. That if you met those requirements as if you were conforming, then you could proceed.
And why wouldn't we do it by area of a non-conforming versus just a non-conforming general
Area
standards,
based
so land
on
area?
what kind of area? I
For
mean,
what use,
setbacks
though, I
would
guess? Because really, the multiple homes, that's gonna really be addressed in the ADU ordinance, isn't it? For the most part?
So with the ADU, okay, starting from the beginning, in the AR1, you are permitted to have 2 primary dwellings.
In a
That's the-
conforming AR1,
In conforming AR1 as it reads currently.
right?
With this is saying that if your property is zoned AR1 and you bought a blank land and you want it to develop and you want 2 primary dwellings, by right, you are permitted to do that if you meet all other standards with the zoning. That means you meet height. That means you meet setbacks.
Right.
You meet everything else. But it's not adding, because I noticed in the issue 1, it kind of read as if I was kind of allowing like a R1 to have 2 primary dwellings. That's
Right.
not what I'm saying. I'm saying whatever is there. Now for the for the accessory dwelling unit part of it, the way that would be written is that if you do not have, the way it's written is that you have to meet 100% of your lot, right? So let's just say you're in AR1. That means that you need 5 acres to be in compliance, right? Let's say that you want an ADU, but you have 4 acres. That point, you would have to get a variance to have an ADU. I shouldn't have used AR1 because technically you can have 2 dwellings, but you get what I'm saying, right? So we're not allowing for anything extra. We're just saying that what AR1 allows for, they should be allowed to have that on their non-conforming lot. No one picked their own zoning here.
Yeah, and I do like that. I mean, if you're under an assumption you can do X on a piece of property, you go buy that piece of property. You've looked at the regulations, you met all the regulations, as long as you meet the setbacks and
Well,
buffers and all the
When you buy the
requirements.
property, it is zoned how it's zoned at that time.
Right,
It's AR1, 4 acres.
Yeah.
That's what he buys it as.
But still, the same buffers and restrictions apply to an AR1, whether it's AR1 4 acres or AR1 5 acres.
Right.
So I mean, I'm kind of with Akil on this.
I am too.
You know, the property, you should be able to buy that piece of property and say, okay, I know what I'm getting into without having to go in the weeds to figure out what in the world's going on. You know, you can look at today's
So
buffer
we're-
requirements, setbacks, and everything
I
else.
guess
and
my
do
question
that.
is, do we need to create another AR, or do we just continue to?
How many of these
Pound.
lots like this are out there, the non-compliant
Like, where do you
lots?
draw the line in the
Yeah.
sand
Some-
and
I
go,
mean,
okay?
some of these we're gonna have
Yep.
to just address. There, none of them, some of them just
Yeah,
not
some
gonna
of them are
fit.
gonna have to.
Right.
There's no way to write an ordinance that's gonna fit all these non-compliant lots, I don't think.
But I think we already have a lot of things that have to have a variance anyway, because they could be a problem. And I think the variance would kick in some of these situations, and if something looks like it's be a problem, we could put that back in that same category where they had to come and get a variance and do X, if you
I
thought that
think
would be a problem.
I think you could have the very same situation, concerns you're having on a lot that does comply, say it's 5 acres,
But
but it's,
usable
but it's
land,
4 acres is absolutely underwater.
right.
So really, you're packing all that allowable use in a AR1 on 1 acre. So
Right.
you kinda have the same thing going, but
Right.
but it's fully compliant.
Right.
So-
But then you'd still have
And I made-
setbacks and buffers just.
And I know people
you'd
that have
have to
broken
meet
off
them
lots
with-
in
right.
AR and made them, but there ain't but maybe an acre usable.
Right.
But then you got
You do
the other
have
things
that.
kick in that situation though too, and you gotta look
Yeah,
at national
same
wetlands
thing.
map, make sure you're
Same thing.
So,
50 feet away from that, and
Right.
that makes it harder to do something like that because of those wetlands.
Mhm.
You know, you'd have
is it
something to go by.
addressing the AR3 though, for example, which is what, 2.5 and above? Up to 5, I guess, or just below 5, 4.999999?
Is the ordinance addressing?
Yeah, so is a non-conforming AR1 and an AR3, if they're the same size property, they be able to do the same exact thing?
If it's in the ordinance in that particular zoning district, yes. So this was a situation that was brought up internally as well, where it was a worry that if I have an AR3 and my neighbor is AR1, and then my lot is conforming as AR3, but their lot is non-conforming as AR1, they're allowed to have 2 dwellings and I'm not. That just happens sometimes in zoning. Again, no one picked their own zoning designation unless you rezoned it, so they
So
should
could
be.
they not come to us and say, hey, my neighbor's got this?
Why,
can't have it
I
too?"
don't
feel-
understand why you would want them to come before the board when you could allow
think
them to
that's the
use their
question.
land to the highest and best use from the
Right.
beginning.
No, I mean, I understand, I'm
Yeah.
saying, if, just like I didn't think we'd ever have somebody trying to put a cemetery on a quarter-acre lot.
Yeah,
But
Yeah,
it comes before us.
yeah. I mean, and those,
By the
would-
variance, you have, that would be something.
I
you have to
will,
have
I
a-
will tell you, I did run into
Sure.
one issue that kinda does play into your point, and it was a nightmare for a little bit. They had a non-conforming small lot, they were able to have hogs, and they did have hogs.
Wow.
So I get your point on some things, you know, that was legitimate, it was a nightmare.
it was a
dealing with that
non-conform,
one.
you said it was a non-conforming lot and they had hogs?
Yeah,
And they weren't allowed to in that zoning designation?
they were allowed
They
to
were.
in
Were allowed
AR1.
But it was so
It
small.
was so small, it
But
was,
were
it
the
was
hogs
not
allowed
good.
before the new zoning went
And
into
it could have
place?
been, that may be
So,
addressed
yeah,
now.
because you do have grandfathered in uses.
Yeah, yeah.
So that could have happened
And that
there.
could have been what the case.
But you
But I
know
think that
what,
is
with-
addressed now. That was
Yes.
just,
And
'Cause
with
even
this
still-
ordinance, in that case, if they had hogs and it was that use was grandfathered in, because zoning, you know, every 5 years you should update your
Sure.
zoning ordinance.
They could continue to do it
They could
until
continue to do it,
they-
but let's say that they say, we want another hog pen. Now they have to come into
Come
conformance
compliance,
with the
right.
current. So that's just the way that
That's a
this
change.
works. Yeah, that's the way that this works.
So,
But even
They're-
still, the
they're not gonna come
setbacks-
ask if they can put another.
and maybe,
It's a
maybe I'm
hog pen.
overthinking things, but how do you come into compliance with
But-
the ordinance if it's not?
I think that's
the
addressed
ordinance?
in animals. but-
What do you mean? I'm sorry.
So if you have a non-conforming AR with your 4-acre example, you're saying they have to come into compliance with the ordinance, you know, the rules within that ordinance, the AR1, I'm assuming.
Well, that was more on a business, that was more of a business example. versus a residential example. It's really hard to do that with residential, aside from making them meet all of the other zoning standards. It just doesn't, we just have too many calls or applications of rezonings coming in for people to use their land. But everything else has to be compliant, so you have to meet those setbacks.
So what do I do, or Lee do, when we have case law out there about these types of situations, and it says to push away from that?
The case law stated here, it applies, but it's also more nuanced than what's being presented. So, I mean, I'm not a lawyer, I'm a planner.
This
Right.
is when I say I'm not a lawyer.
Yeah, I'm not a lawyer, I am a planner.
Well, I mean, I
but-
sent some over to Lee too earlier, and
Yeah,
I apologize for it being 11th hour. I
No,
just-
it's fine. I mean, they apply, but it's a little bit more nuanced than what's, presented at this
Yeah.
juncture.
And I promise I'm not being difficult. I'm
No,
just trying
it's fine.
to, get discussion, so we, instead of putting a Band-Aid on something, are we putting stitches in it, is what I
This is
want
the
to do.
stitches, I promise.
Okay.
Yeah, in some of those cases, I think Aquila was right on. I'm assuming that was AI generated.
Some
and-
of it
and-
was, some of it was from the Gaza
Okay,
references.
okay. Because I read through a couple. I didn't have an opportunity to read through a lot of it, but a couple of those, they have general conclusions and not necessarily this is the way it is.
Right.
And that's all throughout zoning. You're not going to have this,
Yeah,
this
there's no
black and white.
concrete.
Right.
Yeah.
And so, at the end of the day, you're going to want to decide, okay, are we going to have an ordinance that we can work with that's a little flexible, or do you want something really rigid? And when you get it really rigid, I think it becomes problematic. I'll just say that. But
Or do you provide pathways so that
That's what we're
everything
for.
ultimately gets there, so. But we're not providing a pathway, we're amending a non-conforming. That's not a conforming ordinance, it's a non-conforming ordinance.
Hardest part is thinking
It's
about
got
every
an asterisk
pathway.
beside it, in other words.
The hardest part is thinking of every pathway that could happen and
Right.
covering that and then missing something and
I agree.
it's.
I don't
it
want us to
gets-
become a burden at everything somebody wants to do on their property.
Oh, I
That's what
agree.
I'm hearing.
I agree.
I'll even agree.
I want to be simple. I don't want us to be a
I'm,
pain in the behind.
I'm,
Well, I just always remember the lady at, up at Tuxie King had 3.5 acres non-conforming. She wanted to add a carport. She had to rezone her property.
See, that's ridiculous.
And she didn't even add electricity to it.
It's just
I
a
mean,
cover.
it was just a cover for an extra vehicle she bought.
Yeah.
I know we did a mechanism in Westwood where a lot of the lots were gonna be automatically fathered in. Is that something we could do?
Voluntary,
that.
we don't
no, we
do-
didn't do
We
that. We're
didn't do
doing it
that.
on a
We were doing
case-by-case
it
basis,
individually.
right? We're doing
Yeah.
it case-by-case
And
basis.
so, and that's the point, is that
You can't-
it creates what we're trying to avoid, which is having to rezone everything, or having to give everybody get a variance on their property. It just kind of, and a lot of it is, there might be one or two cases where this, because of the shape of a lot or something like this, that this approach may not be
Or for
ideal.
that.
But for a vast majority of these, which are, I don't even know if we have non-conforming AR2s, we may. But, 90 some odd percent of these are probably AR1s, and, which is exactly what happened in Westwood Heights. They're all AR1s, but there's tiny
none of
subdivision
them-
lots with
none of-
water and sewer, so it just doesn't make any sense.
I think with the number of dwellings, DPH is probably gonna weed a lot of that out.
That's true.
What you can fit on
Yeah,
something
in some
smaller.
rural area, yeah, I agree with
Because
that.
you gotta have a certain amount of usable soils to have your drain field.
And I think that's what you've got to weigh is of, if us trying to make it easier for somebody to like put up a carport versus trying to get by and doing something that is illegal. I think that's the
Trying to
that's the two
create rental
sides.
property.
Trying to, yeah.
Put two rental properties
Trying
on
to
one,
create two
you know,
rental
that,
properties.
yeah.
And
That's
that's,
where
the-
the
and that's the
restriction needs
part
to
about
kick in.
variances I don't like, so,
Yeah.
you have to weigh that, but the simple answer is, yes, let's try to help, but then you say, but at the same time, it can't turn into something we don't want it to turn into just because you can do it.
Mhm.
And then issue 2, internal inconsistency. It says that the draft simultaneously requires compliance with all applicable regulations while removing density as a requirement. Again, for clarification, I did not remove density. I only stated that what's allowed in a certain zoning designation could continue to be allowed. If you are not allowed to have 2 primary dwellings on a lot, you cannot build an apartment where it's not already allowed. Issue 3 for 50% expansion allowance. This one, we could definitely have deeper conversation about. After receiving your notes, I do think that maybe 35% may be best. The intent of the 50% allowance is not to encourage the growth of non-conforming structures, but to allow reasonable improvements over time without requiring repeated board action for minor additions. That happens sometimes where a portion of something gets knocked down, or I've seen a car ran into a building, and then because of money, they had to slowly rebuild. So that's why I kind of said 50%, because I've seen the crazy
How would that
stuff.
trigger a building code? Like, Josh, how much of a building can be redone without 50%? Gotcha,
And that's why I used that number originally.
right. Okay.
But just to address your concerns, we could add the following language.
Again, these are just my concerns. This is,
Okay.
there's
Well-
5 others, so.
Yeah, of course. Well, just to clear anything up, if we need any further clarification, I could use the language, any enlargement, extension, expansion of a conforming structure or use shall comply with all applicable current zoning standards to the maximum extent practicable, including but not limited to setbacks, buffers, and screening requirements. They'll just kind of tighten up that language a little bit and
I
kind of
like
help
that.
there.
I like that.
Yes, ma'am. I'll be sure to add that in for you. Issue 4, overboard variance authority. So it says the proposed language broadly allows variances to lot and building requirements, which could be interpreted to permit density increases through the variance process. So the intent of this section was not to allow variances to increase density or prohibit additional dwelling units beyond what's allowed. Again, in Georgia, under ZPL, you are not allowed to get a variance for use. That was not my intent. Again, I could probably tighten up the language here for further clarification. Damage and destruction thresholds. The intent of increasing the threshold to 75% was to better reflect real world construction costs and avoid penalizing property owners after significant loss. So that's why I went to 75%. We had some hardship, some definitions. Of course, we can add hardship and
I didn't see it defined in our definitions. And I think defining it and then setting a test scale and so that people truly understand it is needed, because, variances are not about the person, they follow the property.
yes.
So keeping that in mind, as we move forward, not to say we're not empathetic, but you have to think 3 moves ahead too at the same time, so.
Yes, I could add that, that definition, if not in this section, which it probably could go in this section, but to the regular definitions part of the code. I believe when we have variances are, defined in our code, and it says it has to be a hardship. And that's kind of where staff comes in and we say like, well, this is a hardship, and we could look it up and all that, but we
I
could
think
just
having
put it
something
in.
that everybody agrees
Yeah.
upon as a common, this is a hardship, right? So
We
it
can-
kind of takes that interpretation, just like I'm interpreting something that you're writing
Yeah.
is,
Yeah.
my interpretation versus yours, so.
Yes, sir. And I can also add in development, that's absolutely fine. The end, though, I would like to address, the proposed red line does not just conflict with state law. It directly contradicts the county's own existing ordinance. And I wouldn't say directly contradicts. these are intentional updates, so, to existing standards. So the red line that we're proposing does, change thresholds and processes. So yes, it's going to read differently than older sections, that have not been updated yet, but my job is to modernize the county and get us to where we're supposed to be. And I don't think they necessarily conflict with state law. Again, I'm not a lawyer, but, and if the concern is consistency, that's fair. We can definitely work on the consistency of this. And we can absolutely align the related sections, making sure everything, flows. The thing about codes is a lot of this is kind of piecemeal. So I wrote this part, someone else wrote something else,
Right.
We have consultants, so I can do a better job at making sure everything aligns. And we're just here to update the policy, and we'll
Yeah,
just.
I understand the intent. You're just always gonna have that guy that says, well, you said here in this section, this conflicts with this, right? So,
Correct, yeah. Well, I hope I cleared everything up for you.
Well, on issue 4, I really like the fact that, you're recommending to be very specific on the variance, because I think everybody always uses that as a
Yes.
bailout.
Yes.
So I do like that.
And the term development, and, defining what that means in it being a standard as to what development means, because, again, people interpret words separately.
Yes, sir.
There was a few other definitions that I had too, I did not present, but I can send that to you later. That I thought should be included in there that are referenced, but they're not clearly defined in some of our codes. Sorry, I went on a nerd trail the other night.
It's fine, I do that too. I love what I do. I do my research.
So what do we do going forward? I mean, with this information, are we gonna tweak this more, or, okay, so
Yes, sir.
work in progress?
Yes, sir.
The workshop.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd like to see it tweak more,
Is it possible
before we
to,
deal with it.
get, are we gonna bring it to the workshop? Is that the plan, Tim? Or,
But you mean to a
yeah,
a
once the
retreat?
tweaking's done,
Oh, yeah. I think that, well, not always, but in this case, because there's, it does kind of delay it a little bit, but what we might do is, and I know you all
or do you send it out
recommended,
to us?
put it on the agenda and, and have a workshop in that morning, that afternoon, even though it's on the same agenda. I know y'all don't always like that, but if it's the second round of this and we've already went through a workshop on it, it could, we're trying to do this essentially because we've got folks who, constantly run into a problem.
Right.
So we do want to get it to the finish line.
I'm not
but-
opposed to it being redlined with changes and sent out to us. for
Yeah, that's
review
fine.
And for review, and, it's our responsibility to review it and then hear it.
Tell you what, if we get one request for another workshop on it, we'll put it on another workshop. If not, we'll put it on the agenda.
Gotcha. Okay.
So just to be clear, before we get to the regular meeting, we're not gonna postpone it to May the 5th?
Keela, when do you think you would have this ready with the tweaks and all that?
I could have this ready by next week for you. Monday.
Yes, that's fine. So we'll add it to our next agenda unless one of the other commissioners, recommends we have a workshop on it, which I don't foresee, so. Cool. All right, sorry, I guess that's up to me. Item 2, discussion of upcoming SPLOST and other related topics.
Okay, so. who's got to give up the screen? There we go. Okay, so what I have here is a quick review of what we went over with the, when we had the dinner with the cities. And just so we have a background of numbers, and then at the end, I just kind of come up with some projects that are on the radar for us to determine, which direction we're going to go. But we'll also go through the process on this. And so this just kind of goes through the current SPLOST and essentially what we've distributed to the cities. Again, we're doing this based on, and the counties, we're doing this based on two things since it's SPLOST. It is you have a top layer, it's called Tier 2 projects, which are your countywide projects. Those can account for up to 20%. And then the remainder, 80%, is then divided by population. And so that's what you see countywide projects first. And then the percentages hit, which the county would get 75.41% based on population. And this is just kind of showing you, because that little purple line that you see below the jagged line, you can see that it's been pretty flat, right? There's been a slight increase over the last few years, but for the most part, the dollar figures have not changed. And so this current one, we have an $80 million cap, or 6 years. We are going to hit that cap before the 6 years, and we anticipate that to occur at the end of February of next year. And so when you try and figure that out into election schedules, that means that we need to have this on the ballot in November. And so what we will, essentially the way it'll work is the election will occur, but we'll still have to wait till to that 80 million is reached. And then at the, if it's reached, let's say in February, then we'll be continuing to collect on the previous SPLOST until the end of the quarter, at the end of March, and then the new SPLOST will then take effect. And so, and here's the estimate, and there's going to be a lot of things that that affect this, but for the most part, it is, as you can see, kind of your consumer spending, we imagine will stay relatively flat with a slight increase. But there are some factors that play heavily into Effingham County, and one of them is the power plants. The 2029, which will be about a year and a half into this, potentially a 6-year SPLOST, is when Georgia Power anticipates to have its new capacity online. And we, of course, will be collecting revenue on that natural gas sales to the power plant, which is one of our largest sources, well, certainly our largest single source of sales tax revenue, and it's a huge advantage for the county. And so when you take that into account, right now we're collecting approximately, let's say, $1.8 million a month in SPLOST. If we were to use that $2 million a month figure, over 5 years, it would be $120 million, and over 6 years would be $144 million. But the thing you got to keep in mind, all that is required to get that extra 6 years is a IGA between the cities and the county. And so, but even without an IGA, you can still get 5 years and out of it at the same 1 penny rate. And so, if it was that one, well, let's just go to assume that it's a 6 year. We're going to recommend some countywide projects you'll see on the list coming up. And so if you take that 144, 20% of it's 28.8 million. That would go towards countywide projects. The remaining 115,200 would then be distributed amongst the cities and the counties. And for the counties, for their unincorporated area, we would get 75.41, which would be about $87 million. And so we have started this process. We sent out certified letters to the cities, which is a requirement under state law, to set up a meeting, and the meeting date is May 19th, which is a second Board of Commissioner meeting of the month. It's that day, but we usually have our Transportation Advisory Board meeting that morning, and we want to have this meeting right after that, right after the Transportation Advisory Board meeting. Then we go into the details of the IGA, get the IGAs approved by all the cities and the county, and issues on the IGAs would be stuff like if there's going to be some sort of distribution, let's say, some different distribution, let's say, than population, that would have to be dictated by the IGA. But also the ability to borrow, because there could be two separate questions on this, on the referendum. The first is to approve the continuation of the SPLOST, and the second is to approve to borrow, so we can front load some of that money and get projects done quicker. We don't have to wait for the for the funds to come in. And particularly if there's about a 5-month delay, we can literally go to the bond markets in December after it's approved in November, and get funding, even though we haven't started collecting it in sales tax yet till April. So all of that would be hammered out in the IGA. Yes, sir?
Do we anticipate GO bonds issuing, or?
I would. We did it. It was a little bit tricky last time because some of the cities didn't for whatever reason, didn't prefer to do that. When we did the T-SPLOST a few years ago, they changed their mind on it, and they all agreed to participate in the borrow. And so the county ends up borrowing the funds, and then we distribute it to the cities, the bond proceeds, and then we collect the penny sales tax and use it to pay off the bonds first, and then give the remainder to the cities and the county. Then the call for referendum. We do a resolution. We approve the IGA, a resolution, call for referendum. Referendum's held in November. So we looked at the schedule as how we did it last time. We're pretty much right on schedule meeting-wise. We believe we had the meeting in May, which is what we're doing on this one as well. And so one thing we mentioned at the dinner was for folks to start thinking of their project list, because that really is the item that folks really have to take in consideration, and has to be on the referendum. And so here are some ideas on countywide projects. I just split out the libraries, but we can just leave them all in one category and potentially do, put aside, in this case, we said 14 million for 2 libraries. We could, again, these are just numbers we're throwing out there. We have a sheriff training center, which is also the magistrate court, bond court, that we've got a conceptual design on, but it's not funded. And so that falls into the countywide project category. So we put that there. Some judicial complex improvements. And, our thoughts there was to do some interior redesign, not structural or anything that would affect the, the historic design of the historic courthouse, so that it's a better suit for some of the office uses that are there. We're only using half of the first floor, so and we need to free up some space in the judicial complex, so that's the low-hanging fruit right there. But also the DFACs, when they move out into the 119 complex, their building, it's obviously it's a former government building, metal roof, pretty stable structure. We can pick up about 7,000 square feet. About 7,000 square feet of renovated space in that building, 7 or 9,000, I forget. But those are some of the minor stuff that we're talking about there. The health building needs to be replaced on the 119 campus. They are helping to contribute towards that as well. That's why we only have about $3 million that we put allocated towards that. The senior center is bursting at the seams, and so our thought is to relocate that to the back building of the historic Central School. That's an 18,000 square foot building. I don't know if we need 18,000 square feet for them, but a good chunk of it could be used for that purpose. And then like we did last time, we're going to continue to do technology and security upgrades, and we put this also in the unincorporated area. And when we're doing new cameras in the courtrooms, we take it from the countywide. When we do it in a park, we take it from the unincorporated funds. So those are the kind of just throwing ideas out there for countywide projects. And I will make one point on this, is that generally the cities would like to see kind of more specifics in projects when it comes to the countywide stuff. And so we generally have to go into a little bit more detail on the referendum than we do on the unincorporated. And when you go to the unincorporated, you'll see that they chose specific projects here, but in reality, the way that we did it last time, we put it there as categories. So we'll have parks category, or parks and recreation category, a roads category, fire equipment, stormwater, and facilities. So we'll just generally have those categories in there, and a list like this would just be the backup for it, but would not be on the referendum.
So a question I have is, I know you and I have talked about this before, but I'd really like to get fiber up to Tuxakine, because they have pretty much no internet access up there. Mm-hmm. So I guess if we break it down by district on a road budget.
Sure.
And I'm just using round figures for discussion purposes, but if you said, hey, each district's going to have, $5 million for road construction.
Right.
Can I allocate $2 or $3 million out of that?
Sure, and we would just essentially.
It's for infrastructure, but I'm not asking to take any more from the general pot that we're getting, but I just might want to reallocate mine, because that's just, I don't know, that's something important I'd like to see done.
Yeah, and so what we could probably do up there is just simply, when we come up with the final list, move some money from roads we wouldn't have to necessarily, we could create a different category if we wanted a category for broadband, or we can put in technology and security upgrades.
Yeah, I just didn't know how
literally what we're doing is providing internet to the boat ramp, but everyone else is going to benefit from that, because it'll also be provided to every place along the way in the neighborhood there, just like we did when we brought it to the Clio Community Center and the fire station.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask. Where's the end point now? It's at the fire station?
Mm-hmm.
Pretty much, and they've been trying to recruit folks, with letters to get some commitment from folks. I don't think they've gotten the responses they needed to, I don't know what level of response, 80% or something like that they need. But if we're able to get it up there, the response percentage would probably go down, because we were able to provide it, most of the fiber to the location. So it's a lot cheaper to provide it to the fewer houses.
I was curious if there's any existing, I'd have to look into it and see what the routes are, but if there's any existing dark fiber there, spare fibers that are there that we could potentially tie on and break out, up to that area there.
And and I don't know, and I'll tell you on this thing too. I don't know, if there's excess capacity on a fiber lines that already exist, but
Don't need but one strand.
Yeah.
In all honesty, so.
but the other thing that's kind of been sitting out there for 2 years, and it's kind of it just got delayed simply because of the change of administrations, is this broadband expansion something grant, and that still may come to fruition, so that if these numbers are not set in stone, and that's the other thing. So to your point, Commissioner Deloach. So let's say you were to move money to technology, and then all of a sudden the federal government came out and said, we're going to pay 100% to cover the rest of the county. You can move it back, right? Just as long as the use is listed in there,
I won't hold my
the
breath on
numbers
that.
don't have to be precise. Yeah.
And plus, if we got grants in certain other areas, that free up money to go in areas like this. Like the
Exactly, right. So.
Get library grants and that and free up $2 million to do something like
Correct,
that.
yeah. And so they would just have to, they would have to stay within the range of the county-wide list.
Right.
And, and the unincorporated list, you can move money between projects, as long as the projects get some funding. Each line item gets some level of funding, which is not going to be a problem for us.
Are there any other areas that are there where state funding might be available here that we could beef this budget up even more? I mean, I know there's library, but that's just because I've been heavily involved. Is there other areas where we could apply for state funds besides SPLOST?
Kind of leverage these dollars for more.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Exactly.
and
because you can use SPLOST to buy land, which becomes a down payment for, all of a sudden we've got eligibility for a grant.
right.
So, can you do that in other areas as well?
Yeah, and we could, there's always stewardship grants and stuff like that for parks that we do apply. We haven't been successful on them, but we can apply. Water and sewer is one of them, but what I really like about this list is that, as our water and sewer system has grown, we're really relying on the cost recovery fees for expansion on that, and we don't need to rely on, extra sources of SPLOST to actually meet our expansion goals there. But, the one thing I also put in there, just for the planning for the future, is land bank. As the county grows, opportunities to purchase property become slimmer and harder to come by. And so even if we're not going to be able to develop a property right away, having a source of funds where we can purchase it when it becomes available is probably advisable. But you can see because we had Jonathan's got most of the repaving, if not all of the repaving, except for 1 or 2 roads done. We've got to get us to the some road funds until T-SPLOST comes up again. So I put a big chunk in there for road maintenance, as well as particular projects like the East-West Corridor. But generally, this is kind of adds up to the number we want. The one thing that we may want to reconsider as we get closer to the referendum date is these figures, because if things change, and opportunities come up that could actually increase the amount of sales tax that comes in, we can just bump up this number as long as we do it before we vote on the IGA, the resolution, and the call for referendum. Unlike T-Splost, where you can put a dollar figure up there, like let's say 120 million, you're allowed to go over that number in T-Splost. So you can, and it'll last as long as the T-Splost is, which is generally 5 years. In Splost, it's not that way. That as soon as you hit that number, it terminates the following quarter. So it behooves you to
Overshoot.
to slightly overshoot on these as long as you can contribute to those particular projects.
Do any of these contemplate potential impact fee revenues? I know that's hard to know because we don't know what we're talking about yet, but.
Correct, and so, some could, I would say that even if you had kind of a very good, precise impact fee program, where you had up-to-date fees to the levels where they need to be, it's not going to collect anywhere as near as much as a penny sales tax would. But it would augment nearly every single one of these categories, because you'd have ones for roads, public safety, parks, and I'm missing one, but libraries as well.
So that is an allowable? I
Yep.
thought that one wasn't, but okay.
So I'll email this list out to you. And just, have ideas of stuff that you wanted to include on here, or you think that, we can hold off on some of the recommendations on here. That's fine. We just want to be able to get a list out there for folks. I think the most important thing is the countywide projects, because those kind of have to be somewhat set in stone. But that's all I have.
I think stormwater is an important one. I hope you think 6.
Yeah, I put
is a
some
good number?
stormwater in here. I put $1 million a year. And so,
We limited on funding for that.
correct, right. But we could always, like I said,
Yeah,
the category's there, so we can shift road money. A lot of times the road projects, we're
Go hand in
including,
hand, so.
massive stormwater improvements in there as well. But that's all I got, and I think that's pretty much perfect timing. Yep. There you go.
We need to adjourn the workshop? Or just,
I don't think we have to adjourn it.
okay.
Just
I don't
end
know.
it, don't we just end it?
It's over. How about that?
Right.
Let's do it.
I'm good.
Just cut my ringer off, I forgot to do that.
Just get Frank and I'm good.
Okay. me call us to order here. The Effingham County Board of Commissioners regular meeting agenda, April 21st, 2026. The time is now 5:05 PM. Madam Clerk, roll call, please.
Commissioner Floyd,
Here.
Commissioner Burdette,
Here.
Chairman Ron,
Here.
Commissioner Deloach,
Here.
Commissioner Helmley,
Here.
Commissioner Kiefer.
Here.
All are present, sir.
Thank you, ma'am. And Madam Clerk, you have someone for our invocation, I understand?
We do. Commissioners, staff, and guests, tonight we have with us Ellie Usher, who is a ninth grade student at Effingham College and Career Academy. At school, he is involved in the TSA Club, Beta Club, and performs as a member of the Effingham County High School Rebel Regiment Marching Band. He is an active member of the Effingham County 4-H leadership team and proudly serves as a Georgia 4-H STEM ambassador, where he shares his passion for science and engineering with others. As a member of the Effingham County 4-H archery team, Eli has developed focus, discipline, and confidence through competition. Faith and service are important parts of Eli's life. He attends Laurel Hill Lutheran Church, where he spearheads a pop tap collection benefiting the Ronald McDonald House, demonstrating his initiative and heart for helping others. He also volunteers with Cure, childhood cancer, supporting children and families facing difficult diagnoses. Through his many activities, Eli continues to grow as a leader, combining his interests in service, STEM, and the arts while making a positive impact in his community. Help me welcome Eli Usher.
As this meeting begins, we are reminded of a simple but powerful truth. This world does not belong to us. It belongs to God. From the land we develop to the water we use, from our natural resources to our neighborhoods, everything entrusted to us is part of His creation. In Genesis, God gave people the role of His steward, not owner, but caretaker. That responsibility carries both privilege and weight. It speaks directly to the work of those entrusted with leadership and decision-making in a community. Stewardship calls for wisdom, balance, and foresight. It challenges leaders to look beyond immediate needs or short-term gain and consider what is right, sustainable, and beneficial for future generations. Protecting God's creation is not separate from this responsibility. It is a part of it. Each person is accountable for what has been placed in their care. Leadership brings influence, and with that influence comes the opportunity to act faithfully and responsibly. Today, as decisions are made, may there be a commitment to wise stewardship and thoughtful care for all that has been entrusted to this community. Let us bow our heads to pray. Heavenly Father, thank you for the gift of your creation. We ask that you guide these commissioners as they carry out their responsibilities. Grant them wisdom, discernment, and integrity as they make decisions that affect this community. Help them to lead with care and to be faithful stewards of all that has been entrusted to them. Amen.
Amen.
As President Ronald Reagan once reminded us, freedom is never more than one generation away from extinction. Please stand as you are able, remove your hat, and join in the Pledge of Allegiance as we honor our country. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Usher. We'll now move into our agenda approval, consideration of a resolution to approve the agenda. Madam Clerk, are there any changes tonight?
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman and board members. Under unfinished business, it is my understanding, item number 1, which is the second reading to amend Appendix C, Article 3, Section 3.46, accessory dwelling units. This item is to be postponed until the May 5th meeting.
Okay.
And to my knowledge, those are all of your changes.
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda with the noted change.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
None opposed, motion carries. Item 5, consideration to approve the April 7th, 2026 regular meeting minutes.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes as presented.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
None opposed, motion carries. Item 7, public comments. Comments shall pertain to agenda items only. Should you wish to make remarks, clearly state your full name into the microphone before commencing to speak. Item 8, correspondence. The agenda packet for this meeting is posted on the county's website. Any additional documentation presented at the meeting shall be submitted to the clerk for receipt, recording, and distribution to the board. Item 9, presentation. Madam Clerk, I understand we have a presentation for our 4-H office.
Yes, sir. Ms. Holly Usher? There is staff from the 4-H office as well as some of the students here to give a presentation to you.
My name is Madison Schroeder, and I am a 10th grade student at Effingham County High School. I am honored to be here tonight on behalf of our 4-H members. We sincerely thank you for your continued support of our program and the youth of Effingham County. Because of our partnership, we have opportunities to grow as leaders, explore hands-on STEM activities, serve our community, and build skills that will help us in school and our future careers. Your investment in 4-H truly makes a difference in our lives. We would also like to thank Miss Stephanie Johnson for helping provide opportunities for our 4-H members to be part of these meetings. Being able to attend and participate help us learn more about local government and how leaders serve in our community. Tonight we are honored to present you with these plants as a small token of our appreciation. They represent growth, the same growth you help make possible in us as students. Just as plants need strong roots, care, and support to thrive, we can flourish because of leaders like you who believe in and invest in young people. Thank you for supporting us and for helping create opportunities that allow us to learn, lead, and succeed. We truly appreciate your support.
Mr. Miss Stephanie. You can just set it right there. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. I gotta say, one of the coolest things we get, or I get from 4-H, and
Thank you, sir.
probably y'all agree,
job.
is the notes
Yeah.
from the students. It always touches my heart, you know, we get something of appreciation of the little tiny part we get into this.
You realize?
Yeah,
Hey, some instructions come with this.
yeah.
I'll probably need this.
Thank you. All right.
I love ferns, man.
Leave it up here for some
I
color.
love
I know.
ferns. I had the best ferns
I
on my
have
block.
to, later on, just.
See you.
Very good. Thank you guys very much for that.
Thank you very
I
much.
appreciate that.
Unexpected pleasure.
And good job on your presentations tonight.
Absolutely.
All right, we'll move into item 10, our consent agenda. This section shall include all routine items for which there will be no discussion. Should a need arise for debate, the item can be moved to the appropriate area of the agenda. Item 1, appointment, consideration to approve reappointing Chris Sapp to the Recreation Board as representative for District 2.
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
None opposed, motion carries. Moving into 11, unfinished business. Item 2, second reading. Consideration to approve the second reading for an application by Anthony Lester for variance from section 3.21.1 located at 987 Springfield Egypt Road to allow for the occupation of an RV camper during the renovation of a home in AR2, map number 342, parcel number 38A in the 3rd District, postponed from our April 7th, 2026 meeting.
Just want to point out that we're going to grant the 8 months. That was, I think that was requested by Ms. Lambert, so I will honor that request. So with that being said, I will make a motion to approve the 2nd reading.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
None opposed, motion carries. Moved into new business. Item 1, proclamation. Consideration to approve a proclamation recognizing April 2026 as Child Abuse Prevention Month.
Yes, Mr. Chairman and board members, each year, April is recognized as Child Abuse Prevention Month, and we receive a request for the board to approve a proclamation in honor of that from the from the Exchange Club. We have members present today to receive the proclamation, and I will not read it all. I'll just go with the ending, which reads, "We, the Effingham County Board of Commissioners, do hereby proclaim April 2026 as Child Abuse Prevention Month in Effingham County, Georgia, and urge families and communities to become involved in protecting Effingham's children." Dr. Gowires, I think we have both of them here, and some others, if you'll come forth, please. And as they're coming forth, if you all would approve the proclamation. Staff recommends approval.
Very good. Well, I'll entertain a motion.
Make a motion, we approve the proclamation.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
None opposed, motion carries.
I'm going to exchange
Okay.
that as well.
Pictures. Come on down, guys, for a picture.
Yeah, sure.
That's great.
Down or coming up?
Are we all supposed to get up there?
Okay, they can come up. Yeah, that'll be fine.
You guys?
Oh, they're coming up. Okay.
Yeah, they're gonna come up here, I mean.
Y'all come around this.
You guys come around up here and we'll take
Some nice ferns, aren't they?
It is.
Kinda good up here. Kinda removes the sterileness from it.
Is that plan okay, or Stephanie wants to ride his fern?
Just space them out so it looks even.
It's all in there?
Yeah, I'm good. Covering up's good.
Circle?
Thank you. Thank you, guys.
Put it back down now. For the picture.
That's nice. Nice touch.
Righty. Okay, item 2 is a site plan. Consideration to approve an application by Kern & Co. LLC, Chad Zitzrauer's agent for RB Baker Properties LLC, for a site plan for Old Augusta Baker Tract located on Old Augusta Road, map number 476, parcel number 4A, 4A01, 4A02, and 4A03 in the 5th District.
Thank you. Kimberly Barlett, Senior Planner. The applicant proposes the phased development of a warehouse distribution park consisting of 4 warehouse buildings. The subject parcel contains 114.79 acres located on Old Augusta Road South. A development of regional impact review was completed in 2024, and the Georgia Department of Community Affairs found the project consistent with the adopted comprehensive plan. There's 4 proposed buildings. Phase 1 would be a JIT warehousing logistics building. The maximum building height is 50 feet, 150-foot vegetative buffer surrounding the property, and the proposed right-of-way reservation for a future connection to the Old Augusta Chimney Road roundabout is preserved on this site plan. Based on the submission, Parcel A, Phase 1 will provide 50 automobile parking spaces and 59 trailer parking spaces, which meets the ordinance for parking. The parcels are designated industrial on the future land use map. The applicant has submitted a site plan in accordance with Section 14-56 of the Effingham County Site Plan Ordinance. The proposed development meets the applicable zoning and site plan requirements of light industrial district, including parking, buffering, and access standards. Based on the analysis, staff finds that the proposed development is consistent with the intent of the light industrial zoning district and is compatible with the evolving industrial development pattern along Old Augusta Road South.
Good. Thank you, ma'am. Any discussion from the board?
No, it's consistent with what we discussed during the rezoning. It has mainly the right-of-way reservation back to the future roundabout, so.
Very good.
Unless anyone else has any comments, I make a motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Unopposed, motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kim. Item 3 is a purchase order. Consideration to approve the purchase of one Class 6 dump truck for the Effingham County Public Works Department is solicited under request number 25-REQ-105.
Good afternoon. Danielle Carver, Procurement and Contracts Manager. We are requesting approval to purchase one new dump truck for the Public Works Department. This truck will support daily operations, including road maintenance, hauling materials, and infrastructure projects. The county completed a bid process and recommends awarding the contract to Central Truck Center. While not the lowest bidder, Central Truck Center met all required specifications. The proposed unit is a 2027 Ford F-750 dump truck with a 10-foot dump body and electric tarp system. So the total cost is $106,314.56 with an extended warranty for $3,895, bringing the total to $110,209.56. Delivery is estimated at approximately 7 months. So staff recommends alternative 1.
Thank you, ma'am.
Yes, sir.
If any discussion, please do. If not, I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve alternative 1.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Unopposed, motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you. Item 4, consideration to approve a lighting agreement with Musco Lighting for Pinora Recreation Complex.
Sir, Lauren Schuman, project coordinator, and I would like to make one correction. This is for Highway 119 Recreation Complex, the proposal that was sent listed as Panora. So I do want to make that one correction.
Okay.
But yes, it is a approval for sports lighting system at Highway 119 Complex. The system will be provided by Musco Lighting at a total cost of $765,000, which includes materials, delivery, and installation. The project includes lighting for the baseball fields, softball fields, and football field and playground area, with approximately 84 fixtures mounted on 13 poles. The system uses LED technology and it includes remote control capabilities. It also comes with a 25-year warranty, which eliminates long-term maintenance costs. The lighting component is part of a larger improvement project at the site. We do have a contractor on board for that portion, but there's no confirmed start date yet. The lighting is being handled under a separate contract, but it all works under the overall upgrade to the complex. So staff recommends alternative 1.
Very good. Thank you, ma'am. Any discussion from the board? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
Make a motion to approve alternative 1.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Unopposed, motion carries. Item 5, consideration to approve task order 007 under the on-call right-of-way professional services contract for the Blue Jay Road widening project from Effingham Parkway to east of Blandford Road.
Yes, sir. Jonathan Holm, county engineer. This is a contract with JMT to do right-of-way acquisition for the Blue Jay Winding Project, which runs from Effingham Parkway to just a little bit east of the Blue Jay McCall intersection and that project. This right-of-way that we would be, approving here tonight or not the right-of-way, excuse me, the JMT right-of-way acquisition team to go do. It's the 2 lanes in either direction with a divided median, and then also that roundabout at that intersection. So staff has reviewed this and recommends approval.
Very good, thank you, sir. When we do these acquisition, are we setting a date of completion? I mean, outside of obvious, negotiations with properties and whatnot, but do we have a drop dead date per se?
It really is just dependent upon, they give us an estimate, and depending on how many parcels this one is about 30 or so. So I think we were estimating about a year to year and a half. It just depends on how the negotiation process goes, and if something unfortunately goes to condemnation or something like that, that could drag it out a little bit further. So,
Gotcha.
But we have a tentative timeline to answer the question.
Very
Yes,
good.
sir.
Thank you. So further questions, entertain a motion.
Make a motion, we approve alternative 1.
Second.
A motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
None opposed, motion carries. Item 6, consideration to approve a proposal from Legacy Water Group LLC for Phase 1 of the Effingham Regional Water Supply Facility Project.
Good evening, Trey Wilkins, Capital Projects Manager. Before you is consideration of the guaranteed maximum price from Legacy Water Group for the Phase 1 of our surface water project. As you recall, they have been awarded the contract to assist with pre-construction services. This is the next step in the process to get them actually started with real construction.
Good, thank you, Trey.
Al mentioned too that this is a very good experience on our first CMAR because this is coming substantially lower than what our original budget was for this pipeline.
Was where does it align with our projections in the beginning? So great, thank you.
I can tell you that the number is 50% of what was originally anticipated for this portion of the project.
Say it
We
too loud,
made some
Trey.
design changes where we're utilizing Blue Jay Road, so we don't have to go up to the power line, back down. That was significant. And then just costs overall have come down significantly over the last 18 months.
Gotcha. Tim, with our funding mechanism that we have, especially with the state allocated funds.
That's
will we
correct.
be able
So
to-
this would be the either the state direct investment or the GFA loan. They all come at the same time. So I think every time we have an expenditure, it's usually about 50-50.
Mhm. But will we be allowed to go beyond our original scope of work?
Yes.
Okay, great.
And so that's kind of the goal. We've kind of, we just had our first meeting on our 30% plans today with the engineer, GMC, and the CMAR, which was Ruby Collins. And, so we got a good idea from them. And then once we get a very good idea what the plant and the intake are going to cost, then we can kind of broaden our scope a little bit of the project, make the plant a little bit bigger, potentially expand the water lines, give the water lines a little bit more capacity.
Gotcha. Is there any process we have to go through as far as we don't run a risk of appropriations being pulled back by any means if we don't?
No, as long as it stays within the defined scope, which is broad on the water project. The specifics on it can change a little bit because they know that we have to. We may have to be a little bit more conservative prior to getting the prices back than we want, and this allows us to get more bang for the buck that's provided.
Very good. Thank you. If no further discussion, entertain a motion.
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Unopposed, motion carries. Moving into section 13, reports from commissioners, administrative staff. Tim, we will start with you.
It's just a couple of events that are going on. I know we do have the ACCG conference later this week, but tomorrow's a busy day, so we have pancakes and politics in the morning. And then we do have the groundbreaking for the expansion of the Georgia Transformer plant tomorrow. What time? 11. Yeah, 11. And, you know, that's quite something. We've got currently 800 employees. This will bring them to 1,200. And again, we are working on to sit down with y'all individually or in a small group if need be to discuss the budget. We've just finished this week with all of the department and office meetings. It's going to be a little bit more, as I kind of said in the beginning, it was going to be a little bit more challenging simply because of the unsurety of the revenue this year. But certainly the asks are a little bit higher than usual, I would say. So there's going to have to be a lot of sharpening of our pencils prior to our meetings with you all, so we can kind of get your feedback on the priorities. So if those invites have not gone out already, they should go out this week. You know, we do think we're in a little bit better shape than kind of what we're hearing of our neighboring jurisdictions. So we're not going to be able to meet every request, but we feel confident that we'll be able to get the priorities done.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Madam Clerk, you have anything?
To piggyback on what Tim just shared about the 3-on-3s with you all, I have received responses from 4, so I need a response. I think you did tell me. Which day did you say?
For what? I can't hear you.
The 3-on-3 budget meetings, May 6th or May 8th is the dates.
Here's the calendar.
I haven't
gave you a
called you
date,
yet.
though.
Okay.
Yeah. Which date works for you, sir?
Oh, for me too?
Wednesday or Friday?
Wednesday or
I
Friday?
have you on Wednesday, Commissioner Kiefer, Wednesday, Commissioner Deloach.
Yeah, me for the 8th at 1 o'clock.
Okay, so I would need you, Commissioner Burdette, on the 6th. if
No, ma'am,
possible.
you should have me on the 6th.
You're on the 6th.
I sent that back.
You did. Yes, you did.
I could do the
I'm
8th.
flexible.
You can do
Move-
the
move
8th?
me
Okay.
wherever.
I got you. We're good.
Thank
Good
What
to
date
go.
is that for me? Wednesday what?
The
Did you send
6th.
something out?
Wednesday,
So-
May 6th. Yes. You'll get a calendar invitation here shortly.
All right, thank you.
I'm trying to.
Thank you.
I'm flexible.
Anything else?
I mean, that week I'm
Okay.
open.
Commissioner Floyd?
I don't really have anything. I sent Jonathan. I'm still some more confusion over there on Low Ground Road with the survey folks knocking on doors. They're not aware of anything. I don't know why they're not being contacted, but or they claim they're not. So did
Are
you
we
follow
putting
up on that?
door tags out on anything? Are we door tagging on this?
We've already
And I
done
hate
that.
this.
We've
I have
already
had
done that.
This second time.
Yeah,
Yeah.
sure.
Did you hang out in their driveway to make sure you saw them and talked to them?
I just gave her Jonathan's number. Or I gave it to Jonathan actually for her to call him.
Do we have,
It makes no sense.
Tim, this brings up something, again, on the signage that we talked about, the digital signage is a useful tool for that, you know, the portable digital signage that
We even
discussed.
had.
Yes,
I think we had that up too. I think we put the digital signing up too.
Yeah,
We did. We have a small board that's
Hey, this lady.
EMA that we put up just prior to the meetings, just to let folks know on the actual road. I think we're going to try and put in the budget just a larger sign for next year.
have we spoken to God and see if he can get it out to them as well? So,
Well,
yeah.
we were going to get, we haven't picked who it's going to be yet, but someone's going to stand out there with a spinning sign.
That's a good idea.
So,
You know, I miss that lady. Commissioner Burdette?
Yeah, just had something real quick. And this is on a procedure where, for home businesses. Are we now requiring, or have we ever required, like, for them to go in and give us pictures of the home office inside? So I've had a person reach out that's had a business and a business license for a long time on a home business, and now we're asking him to give pictures on the inside of his house. And he's like, well, I don't know if I want to do that. So is that something new, old?
It's intrusive, I would think.
Yeah, it's a little over the top, I think, but he thought it was odd, and he asked me about it, and I kind of thought it was a little odd, but I defer to you guys on that.
Yes, sir. That is something that the current code requires. However, we will be amending that very soon.
Well, okay, so can I tell him not to take pictures of his house on the inside for right now?
This
Would you be
juncture,
okay?
he does have to abide by the code as it stands, but if he would like to wait, he could.
How long do you think it'd be before we do something? 'Cause he's renewed his license for many years and never had to do this before.
Yeah, I mean, I can see what I can do.
Yeah.
I'll put it that way.
He works out of his van mostly. It's a heat and air business, and other than writing up bills and stuff, it doesn't do anything in his house. But to have that permit, he needed to do that. So.
Sure. Yeah, and it's just, I think they originally put those requirements in there whenever they were
And when I
because of
talked
the
to him-
square footage
Yeah, I thought it
requirement
may be
and so on and so
something
forth.
old
And
that we're doing now, we're enforcing or something like that.
Let's get that changed.
Yeah,
It's a
and
little,
we are,
it's
and
a
we
bit
are.
intrusive, I
Yeah,
think.
you
Nobody's
have to
coming in
post
my
it, clip
home.
them off the internet. and turn
Yeah.
it in. You don't
And
even
again,
know who's
if there's a complaint about him, using the entire house as an office or something like that, then at that point, code enforcement
Yeah,
can go
yeah,
there and
exactly.
and
And
take a
I
look
would see
themselves.
something
And so,
like that,
yeah, we just, I think once we started enforcing the business license a little bit more stridently, we started to realize that some of the actual requirements for enforcement are a little bit extreme. And so the hope is we clean that, and then we actually, spend our time, finding the folks who are not the folks like that gentleman who's actually taken the time to get his business license, but to find the folks who actually don't.
Right, that operate
So,
without one at all.
yeah.
He's trying to go by the rules and all that. He's like, man, I don't want to take a picture of my house. I'm like,
It-
I kind of feel that way too. It's
exactly.
It's operating out of his home. So what should I tell him for now? Can he go ahead and get it or just?
Tell them to copy and paste something off.
Yeah, let me see what I can do and get back to you on it.
Oh, okay, that'd be great. Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah, good. Is that it?
Yes, sir. Okay, sir. Thank you.
Commissioner Deloach.
I want to give a big thank you to our Fire Chief, Clint Hodges, and his team. I'd also like to say thank you to the City of Rankin, City of Newington, Scriven County, and Bullitt County. We had a big scare out on Shawnee Egypt Road on Saturday. Had a big fire. All of those folks worked that for about a solid 8 hours. As soon as they could cut a break, the fire would jump with the wind. And they estimated, they did lose one shed, but they estimated they saved at least 20 homes. So all of those folks out there did a really good job. And Clint gave me an update that night about 9:30. He had sent a lot of those units home, sent them home. He kept folks there to man the Shawnee fire station that night to periodically check to make sure it didn't start back. And I'm hoping no news is good news. I didn't hear that, the fire had started back, but those folks had their hands full on Saturday, so just wanted to tell all of them a big thank you. That's all I got.
Thanks, sir. Commissioner Helmy,
I'm good, thank you.
Commissioner Kiefer.
No, just a quick update on Abercorn Landing. I assume it's just rocking along in permitting.
Yes, it is. So we do there, as I might have mentioned. I don't know if I've told all of you, but there is some historic.
Yeah, I forgot about that, yeah. Some little snag.
That historic event that might have occurred on there, so it makes it subject to a little bit more scrutiny. We've talked to the Corps on that. We've got a consultant who's going to review it and make sure that whatever we're doing doesn't disturb any potential historic sites on there. So that's what we're working on right now.
Yeah.
In the meantime, everything else with regards to the,
Loading dock and.
the docks, all of those permits, are still,
Okay, good.
moving forward.
That's all I have.
But there's always something.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. For me, thank you to our communications team. There was a lot of good information put out from Roger's town hall meeting last week, and whoever put that presentation together, thank you for that as well.
Yeah,
I'm assuming it was
fantastic.
you, Miss Marie.
I'm just kidding.
It really answered a lot of questions, especially on the taxation side, percentages of things that come out, where that's coming from, a lot of things that you see that are miscommunicated. I believe it provided a lot of answers for, so that was good stuff. Secondly, thank you to our development services staff. You guys are putting together good stuff here, and I love the discussion that we have. I feel like our ordinances are much more thorough or more well thought out, so thank you for that. And I'll try not to be a pain in your butts as much as possible, so. Other than that, we have our ACCG stuff this week, and I'm glad to hear, especially from, getting the communication again from Rogers. I encourage people to take a look at what was put out. I believe it's on our website and on our Facebook page for everything that we have upcoming. We're doing a lot of good things here, so that's it. With that, we're going to take a break before we roll into our planning at 6 p.m.
Is it on your personal side or the county side?
It's okay. You can go through it.
No, the county Facebook side?
They put a pie chart together. Evening, everyone. We'll call us back to order. We'll now be rolling into our planning board. Item number 1 is a public hearing. Consideration to approve an application by Robbie Brannon for a variance from section 3.5A, subsection E, located at 203 Eagle Court to allow for a non-conforming AR2 to have a residential business. Map number 369A, parcel number 46 in the 4th District.
Thank you. Kimberly Barlett, Senior Planner. So this variance goes with the next item for the conditional use. The variance request seeks approval for the operation of a residential business on a non-conforming lot. Recent revisions to both the AR2 ordinance and the residential business ordinance now require that any lot not meeting the minimum size requirements for AR2 zoning must first be brought into compliance prior to consideration of a conditional use. The subject parcel contains .83 acres and includes 1 existing mobile home, which they access from Eagle Court. The parcel is designated agricultural residential on the future land use map. Staff finds that the request meets the intent of the variance criteria as a hardship. It is not self-imposed. The property exhibits unique conditions due to its legal non-conforming status. And the proposed use is not expected to adversely impact public safety or welfare. Additionally, the residential business is anticipated to be compatible with surrounding uses and consistent with the general intent of AR2 zoning district and the comprehensive plan.
Very good. Thank you, ma'am. We'll open up the public hearing. If the applicant has anything they want to add, please come forward and state your name for the record.
He'll speak on the next item for the conditional use.
Okay, very good. All right. Anyone else here for? Please come forward. Anyone here opposed? Please come forward. All right, being there are none, I'll close the public hearing and turn it over to the board.
Initially, there was some discussion about wanting to put a building there. That's no longer part of this now? Is that what you're saying?
No, the variance doesn't have to do with the building or the accessory structure. It's just that the residential business occupation license says that you have to be conforming before you can be considered for a conditional use. Because AR2 now turned into 1 acre or more, he's now considered non-conforming because he's .83 acres.
We got to cross this bridge first.
Yeah, I know, but I don't want to cross this bridge first. No one's opposing it. I just have I'm always concerned about allowing a business in a residential area. And so that's my concern here. Y'all have any comments?
What's the business going to be?
That's what I was going to say, without any
The
context.
florist, floral business.
Floral,
Florist.
okay. In what florists, as in they're going to be doing flower design and
Well,
have
that's what-
customers, or they're going to be?
Floral arrangements with
That's what
customers.
number 3 is about. That's why I said if there was a way that we could discuss all this at one time.
If you'd like to.
Well, I assume that's going to create a lot of traffic.
Well, that's what I'm saying. If we grant that he can have a business here, and then he's asking to have a business, I guess I'm questioning.
Yeah, that was mine too. I
That
saw
was-
that it was in a
it was-
neighborhood, and
Right.
if it
That's-
was a mobile type delivery thing, probably wouldn't have such a problem, but since people are going there and it's creating traffic, that's a whole nother world altogether.
And that's my only concern. And that's why I said
Yeah. Mr. Brandon, would you like to come up and
Why don't you
elaborate
come
on
up-
anything?
And it is a
while
public
we're
hearing
here?
too. so
it is
we'll
a
have-
public
Yeah.
hearing, so yeah, I'd like to hear, I just want to hear some different stuff.
Give you an opportunity.
Robbie Brennan, own Veranda Floral Studio. I've been operating since November under a conditional usage. I'm completely online as far as my florist business goes. So I have a website and I do local delivery. This would just allow me to really open up to the public to have like people to come in to talk about weddings, to talk one-on-one. The number one question I get online is where's your retail location, or where can I come see you? Where can I come see your flowers? Maybe look into the cooler and, talk about some different designs. So this wouldn't necessarily, open up as like a full retail, very busy business. This is just, you know, maybe a couple of customers here and there come in. I don't see it as like, you know, open boutique where I have people coming in and out, you know, shopping like that. So, you know, I've been operating since November under conditional usage. I'm online. So I don't really see that it's going to create a whole lot of traffic, a lot of issues with that. You know, I'm not really a traditional florist. You know, like I said, I'm more online, social media. My foot traffic has been zero since day one. This would, again, just allow for people to meet me and contact, talk one-on-one. Because right now, legally, I can't have anybody on my property, you know, or in a portion of my yard to talk about anything unless it's a pickup. So yeah, I think that this would be just a good way to reach out to the local community and have people on site to be able to deal with them and to do business.
You get daily, weekly deliveries? How often do you have?
Every other week, every 2 weeks.
What's-
And it's a small little van that comes from Jacksonville and he unloads it and that's it, and bring it in.
So what is your intent with the structure that you're looking at adding there?
So that's option A, and option B is to use a portion of my residence and to, you know, figure out a portion to have like a retail florist type situation where I have a cooler, you know, whatever. Or do an external building and have it where it's outside like a little shop and use it like that.
So just for my clarification and public's staff, and maybe you can answer this, the difference between a home occupation versus a residential is the fact that customers will be potentially coming there?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. So right now you're probably operating a home occupation? is
That's
what you're
correct.
doing? Okay.
Yeah. And as far as parking goes, we have a substantial amount of parking in the front that can be dedicated for, you know, however many cars. I don't, you know, see that many people coming to my home, you know, business to be shopping like that. It's not really like downtown shopping experience or anything. Obviously, you know.
Yeah, would there be any retail there?
That was my
Are you
question.
looking to eventually get to the
Add-ons
retail?
like candles, balloons, stuff like that, you know, just have like a little display area.
'Cause if you're
little
doing full
counter.
consulting, I don't see a traffic issue at that point, where if you're having, you know, doing consulting for your business. But if you're, you know, gonna offer up a storefront per se, then you're generating.
Yeah, it would be a
potential for
storefront.
traffic.
It'd be more like, just the same way I'm operating online. I have add-ons, I have product that I keep in stock. It would then, you know, be displayed out in an area, real
Right, but
nicely
that's foot
merchandised.
traffic as opposed to web traffic.
What's that?
It said that's foot traffic and car traffic as opposed to web traffic.
Yes.
This is the differentiation between the home
Yeah, the
occupation.
yeah,
and
that's really
residential.
the
I'll just
yeah.
cut to the chase.
Yeah.
I think we're going to end up being full retail by the end of it.
Yeah.
And something like this in a subdivision, it definitely makes, share Commissioner Helmy's concerns on that.
You feel like it's gonna be full retail? Is that what you said?
Well, I mean,
I've seen this movie a few times. and
Okay.
It starts out, I mean, you kind of say kind of what we want to hear, but you can kind of see where it's going, just your gut feeling. And the thing is, you may decide not to, but what we have to keep in mind is, once we open that door, we can't go back. So then the neighbor down the street may want to do something that's going to bring in additional foot traffic, but
Yeah, the entire
hey,
road.
but we gave it to you.
What
so-
is full retail? Like, can you define that? What does that mean
storefront.
exactly? Okay.
Like full storefront.
But
where
like, does
you-
that mean like
you
product
have-
merchandise available for sale, or does that mean, I mean, what?
Thing that you're gonna sell on your property and have on display that would generate traffic to come
Yeah,
there.
but with the variants, what I'm trying to do, I would still have people coming in buying a product that would be in a cooler that I have, you know, on site for consulting of a birthday arrangement, for, you know, sympathy funeral, they come in with the family. I still have product that's still gonna be merchandised in the cooler, maybe add-ons for, you know, bows, ribbon.
How are you doing it
So-
now?
What's that?
How are you functioning now?
Very good.
I mean, how are you
How-
functioning
how's
now?
it work?
How are
How's
you
it work?
operating your business now? I'm assuming
Work.
you're using a
Oh.
piece of your home for that?
Yeah, I'm using a portion, I'm actually using a bedroom that converted, we have you actually built in a walk-in cooler type function. We're using a little AC unit that's programmed to come down lower, so it cools it sufficiently, and so I just like any traditional florist, I get the flowers from a wholesaler, they come in and process them, put them in buckets, you know, treat them, and then when it's time I get the order, I put them in a vase and send it out.
If it was all email or whatever,
Yeah, it was
you
web-
get a delivery every 2 weeks, you get your order, you make your flowers, and then you go ship it or deliver it, that's one thing, but if there's people coming, that's where.
But is it
I
more
think
like,
changes for me.
by appointment is what, or?
Not necessarily, because, you know, if you're a florist and you're listed now, if I get this approved, I'm listed, you know, on Google legally as a physical location, then people would come to my, you know.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I've already had people, you know, they asked about coming and trying to like consult or whatever, and I'm like, you know, I have to wait and get to the next point. So it's one of those bridges where, you know, I really need to cross to kind of get to the next scale up for my business and be able to network and work with my customers.
What spurred you to do this in the first place? What spurred you to take this to another level to where you wanted these kind of variances and things like that? Was it a code
Like to
enforcement
initially get
thing,
my
or
home
was it?
occupation, or?
No, what spurred you to do it? Did you have somebody call from the county? Was it a code enforcement thing, or did you voluntarily?
Voluntary, I researched all this, yeah, just want to make sure I comply with any kind of legalities and that I'm up to code and.
Okay,
You know,
so you cared.
Oh,
And
yeah,
I do
definitely.
appreciate that part of it. I don't know how
Absolutely,
this
yeah.
thing's gonna go, but a lot of people will just try to get forgiveness instead of
Yeah.
permission,
definitely.
so I do appreciate that.
Yeah, I want to
but-
do it the right way and make sure, you know, everybody's happy and that we can, you know.
But it does kind of look like you should have a storefront somewhere,
Commercial.
commercial.
Yeah.
Again, if it was
Location.
just your website, you get an order, you take it and deliver it. But if you have anybody coming to your home, that's more of a retail type application, I
Yeah.
would
And
think.
if it was just consulting, like somebody, I think you mentioned earlier.
By
you
appointment,
show
I
up,
may have a little different opinion.
But if
you know.
somebody can just
But-
show up,
Occasional
that's
appointment.
retail.
I think you can sort of do that. I mean, you can
Mm-hmm.
sort of continue to do that. I don't have any problem with your business. I think it's great. You know, I'm proud of you. I believe in, you know, American ingenuity, and I wish you success. The issue is where it's located. And it goes back to what Commissioner Deloach said. If we open the door for you, then somebody's gonna be up here next month with the same thing.
Mhm.
And then, you know, it may, where you don't have anybody tonight complaining, the next group of people say, I live in a subdivision because I want to be a subdivision. When I want to go buy flowers, I want to go to a commercial. I mean, I don't want a guy next to me, you know, dealing cars or buying
Yeah.
flowers. I think that's what's impacting you here,
Okay.
so.
Well,
Okay.
May hear the rest of the public hearing, I guess.
Yeah, we'll finish the public hearing.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I've already, I closed it, but I reopened it.
Oh,
so
I didn't
it-
think
Did
you,
we-
I didn't.
I didn't hear you call.
I didn't
Yeah,
think you
I
closed it.
reopened it because we
I
were,
didn't hear
we
you
were
call
asking
for it.
questions, he didn't come up.
Oh,
and
yeah,
These are all
that's
kind
what
of
I'm saying.
co-related, so I want to give him the opportunity to kind of preface what's coming forward, so. and
Is this
answer
something
some
that's like
questions.
into consideration, or is it like, you know?
Did you open it up for people?
Can he
speaking
continue
against?
Yes, he
to
did.
do what he's
He
been
did.
doing?
A gentleman out there who
And,
Doing the online.
missed that, he wants to
okay.
see.
Well, he's
I'm
already
gonna
doing
allow
that.
Yeah, I've been doing that since.
He's
November.
already
So you're
doing
good.
that.
You
Yeah.
can continue, okay.
Yeah.
All right. So we're
Could
not
be,
gonna shut
hopefully,
you
I've been
down.
doing it legally since November, so.
Okay.
Yeah. He has a business license and
Okay,
everything.
okay.
all right. Anything further you want to add, Mr. Brandon?
Yeah, I mean, I would just still like to press that I feel like this should be something I should be able to do legally. There's a, you know, an outlet for this. That's why I'm here today. And I feel like traffic seems to be the number one issue, and having people in the neighborhood. And I can assure you that's not going to be an issue. I have plenty of ample amount of parking. You know, I can, you know, vouch for my own space and my own business and be able to, you know, direct and manage traffic however it needs to be. So I feel like this is definitely a good opportunity for me, but not only me, but the community, just to have a way to reach out to people that are needing certain, you know, things and consulting and as far as like the retail, like I don't like, you know, it's one of those things where like if I'm going that step to have people there, it's like why not be able to display some of the items that I would already be sending out on an online order. They can see it in person. People want to see stuff in person. I've got online established very well, but there's still the aspect they want to see my designs in person. They want to see things, ribbons, bows, things that I make up. So I feel like this is definitely something that can work and would work. But if, you know, the question of traffic and disturbance, I can assure you that's not going to be a problem. But
Very good. Thank you, sir.
thank you.
All right, I did reopen the public hearing again, so Mr. Brandon can speak. If anyone here is opposed, please come forward as well.
My name is Joe Norman.
Yes, sir.
I live at 99 Eagle Drive, which on the map is 369A-45. Now, if I understand correctly, what this gentleman is talking about is 369A46. That's right behind me at 4-5.
I believe this is on the cul-de-sac at the end of the road, is that correct?
Oh, right, right. My only concern would be noise. That's really my only concern. The big trucks that come through there are limited. They're not supposed to be there, but we still get them. And it's a rumble. It can wake you up, can disturb you while you're trying to write. Long and short of it, my only concern with noise, I don't care what anyone does, as long as it does, I don't feel I should have to listen to it. And this goes for music. This goes for music, the big engines, which we don't get a lot of now, but that is the thing that does disturb me. And that would be my only reason for opposing. Is there some way to do this and not disturb me? I'm that close. And the last time I had someone discussing the noise, they admitted if I can hear it, the people in the cul-de-sac can hear it. That's my only objection. Okay.
Very good, thank you, sir. Anyone else here opposed? Please come forward. Okay. Being there are none, I will close the public hearing. Question for staff. I see we had, this is limited our AR1, AR2, and R1 zoning for residential business,
Yes,
correct? Okay, very good. And I'm assuming that was for an area, like size of a property or?
Concerning.
Yep. The AR1, AR2 situation, then we have R1 in there as well for
Yes.
residential business pieces, okay? How are we defining that piece of it? Because R1 to me would be, what is the size on R1? Is that half acre?
Could be a quarter acre.
Quarter acre,
Yes,
okay,
12,000
gotcha.
square feet.
All right, so it's just at our discretion ultimately at the end
Yes.
of the day, understood, okay. Just trying to get my brain wrapped around if it was a size thing or
Yes.
something like that, so, all right. Other than that, that's all I had, thank you. Any further discussion from the board? If not,
Just
I'll
want to make
entertain.
sure, we're not shutting him down. He just can't move forward with this retail side.
Yeah, his home occupation would still stay in place, so he'd still be able to do his online consulting and all that. I would even, if it was something to do, like I feel like home occupation was designed as a low-impact business that if you were a consultant, for example, or, a designer or, whatever, a subcontractor for something that was just, nobody knew. You wouldn't know any difference, basically. How do you still accommodate that? If it's by appointment, I don't think that anybody would know the difference between a visitor and somebody coming in to have a consultation, with the business, so. But once you do allow that retail, I mean, you're opening the floodgates for everybody at that point, so. Anyhow,
I just want to make sure we weren't shutting him down.
yeah, no, he's still able to operate his business, absolutely. Just not in an expanded capacity. Any further? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
Well, I basically, as I've already stated, I have no problem with him wanting to do what he wants to do. I just think it has to be a different location. You specifically mentioned about traffic, and traffic would be an issue, but to me, that's not the biggest issue. The biggest issue is allowing commercial business in a residential subdivision. I've spoke about that in other occasions, so it's not just you. I wish you the best. I hope you can find you a spot, to increase your business. I don't, as stated, the business you're currently doing can still operate, but my motion would be to deny this.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion does not pass. With that being said, do we need to move to item 3 still? Okay, so all of those go away. Very good. All right. We'll now move into item 5, which is a public hearing. Consideration to approve an application by James Carlson for conditional use located at 1501 Old Tusculum Road to allow for an elementary school, agritourism, event venue, and adult education services in AR1. Map number 318, parcel number 29 in the 3rd District.
Thank you. Kimberly Barlett, Senior Planner. The applicant proposes a development of a Christian education and community outreach campus operating under a 501c3 nonprofit organization. The campus is intended to support faith-based education, life skills, training, ministry outreach, and community engagement. The project is organized around 3 primary components: faith-based education, community life skills programming, Christian ministry, and outreach. The vision for the site is to create a regional hub where families, churches, nonprofits, and students can participate in educational, agricultural, and faith-based activities. Proposed campus features include a schoolhouse facility, a residential mobile home for a groundskeeper, agricultural and outdoor education areas, event and community gathering spaces, and a future outdoor pavilion. A 5,000 square foot community building is also proposed to accommodate events and provide assembly space for churches and the community. The campus is expected to operate on a structured weekly schedule. Monday through Thursday would be school operations, Friday through Sunday, community programming, life skills classes, ministry outreach, and events. The educational component, Faithful Roots Schoolhouse, is a private Christian micro school operated by Dalton and Jessica Mitchell. The school will serve up to 15 students and include 1 teacher, 1 paraprofessional, and 1 administrative staff member. The curriculum will emphasize agricultural education, including activities such as egg harvesting, fishing, food preservation, farming, and cooking. School hours are proposed Monday through Thursday, 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. Additional programming includes life skills classes for children and adults offered on weekends by a third-party provider. The applicant also proposes recurring community activities, including a weekend farmers market and 3 annual events. And these events will include vendors, food trucks, sponsorships, and family-oriented activities. This project is designed to integrate multiple complementary uses, including the elementary school, the event venue, agritourism activities, and adult education services. The accessory uses will include fishing, crop production, open space, and trails, all of which are permitted within the AR1 zoning district. Staff finds the proposed conditional use, including a private micro school, agritourism activities, adult education service, and limited event use, can be compatible with the agricultural residential zoning district, given the property's large size of 25.25 acres, rural setting, and surrounding pattern of low-density residential and agricultural uses. The proposal maintains elements consistent with the comprehensive plan's agricultural residential designation by preserving open space, incorporating agricultural activities, and limiting development intensity. If approved, it would be subject to the following stipulations: an Effingham County occupational tax certificate, kept in good standing, parking requirements. All parking shall be provided on-site. No parking shall be permitted within the public right-of-way. Parking areas shall be designed to comply with all parking requirements for each use on the property. Any additional encroachments on Old Tusculum Road must be approved by the county engineer, and all applicable zoning and development standards must be met, including but not limited to setbacks, access requirements, and any departmental review standards. The conditional use approval applies only to the business as described in the application. Any expansion of the business, addition of employees, or a significant increase in customer traffic may require additional review and approval by Effingham County.
Thank you, ma'am. Being it's a public hearing, if the applicant has anything he'd like to add, please come forward.
Good evening. We do want to clarify that both of those, to get the 35 acres, right at the 35 acres, there is 2 parcels. You currently are showing that as 1 parcel. We did purchase the other parcel that was considered landlocked. It is owned by owners around it. So that's what gives the 35 acres, and that is, a lot of that is wetlands in that area, but that property is a part of that campus for that 35 acres. So I just wanted to clarify that, but pretty much everything said is right on point, so.
Could you expand a little bit on the event venue part? I mean, I'm assuming what y'all are trying to do here is not going to be anything going on late at night. out there. I mean, I just hear event venues, I think of music and,
Right.
you know.
So ultimately, this is being, our development company bought this property. We are giving this property, doing this for our community as a 501(c). All money that is raised, even from the event side, goes 100% to the 501(c). I am not trying to be in the wedding industry, as you all know. I've scaled that, exceeded that, and grew multiple businesses. But that venue, the need in our community is to have a place that people can gather that, first of all, is affordable. Second of all, they can feel safe, that is, can be gated. Let's truly be honest, this facility, we want to be able to bring our seniors from our senior living home and from our local senior, our open county senior facility, and bring them together and bring kids together to be able to do that. Now, will there be opportunity for people to rent it? Yes, people can rent it if our local hospital wants to have a gala. They're gonna be able to come out there. They would be able to book that property and be able to host an event there, and that money goes right back into the overall mission of the property. So we are very selective on the events going there because this is, first of all, a school. Second of all, it is a resource for our community for the life skills program. The large house that's located on the property, that is where we will be teaching life skills. There will be an adult life skills program, and there will be a children's life skills program from the ages of 4 to 18 years old, with provided partners that have been vetted and screened. Just like in our senior living, we can't bring people into our senior living campus, no matter who they are in our community, unless they have been thoroughly approved and inspected. So we will have, we have been working on this for about 1.5 years and seeing, hopefully this will transpire, but we have a lot of big resources in our community that want to partner and be a part of this. With all of this, the event venue, we need somewhere for these kids. If, let's use Davis Tire as an example. They come out there on a Saturday and they're learning to teach kids how to change a tire. 20 kids do not need to be standing there in the middle of June in the open sun. A place like this, a shelter, will use it. That's why you notice the roll-up doors. It will be used for multiple things. Of course, the school is only operating at 15 students. We will not say nothing negative. I repeat, we'll say nothing negative about our school systems. I spoke with Yancey Ford directly about this. This has nothing. We are doing this because we want to build something that can grow, and we're also allowing the public school systems, if you notice in the plan, from the hours of 4 on, to be able to utilize that property for life skills. Let's be honest, kids don't know how to change tires. They barely can they don't even know, some of them, I can't even tell you what I deal with. With 91 employees, I can't even make it up. We have grown adults, 20 and 25 years old, that have never signed a check. I had a person that works for me that got a master's degree that did not even know where to put a stamp on an envelope. Okay, so we can say what we want. We're not critiquing the school systems, but let's be honest. This school is taking it back to where grandma taught people. The concept has been, we went through a program called the Little Red Schoolhouse. Jessica and Dalton and me and my wife attended it. They have 34 of these all across the U.S., and the kids are scaling, and they are graduating at 15 and 16 years old because of the structure of learning, and this is an opportunity for them to give and for us to give. I'm a prodigy of the public school systems. I root for them, and we are wanting them still to be a part of this. We did speak with the 4-H, and we are working with the 4-H to possibly offer the 4-H. Morgan Triplett is having issues in 4-H to be able to have places to do things. This is a place that we could use this property to do it. And basically, it's not going to be just me. It's our community that is coming together. There's a lot of big partners, business owners that are being a part of this, and it will be board driven. And we have we hopefully have a retired educator that is joining our board too, if this all transpires. So ultimately, this will be something that we want to launch and we want to grow into it. But we're not looking to be a wedding venue. We are not looking to be booked every single weekend, and that is not the goal. And you probably can see because it's a 501(c). That means somebody has to work it. And volunteers are not easy to get to help. We deal with that in senior living, but ultimately, this is a meeting place that people can come, have a community garden, and people can come together. And a lot of these local farmers we're gonna be growing 11 of the acres, and the kids will actually be able to, and the animals that are on the property, a lot of these are rescued animals, and we have a vet partner that's wanting to come out and teach and be a part of this. So a lot of the infrastructure that's behind the scenes has already been thought out for this project, but ultimately, this is what our ultimate goal is and what we would like.
I have to ask about the academic part of it, of course.
And I knew you would.
I mean, so you're gonna establish a private school essentially, is what you're saying?
Right.
So that means you've got to meet some standards
Yes,
from the
ma'am.
state of Georgia?
Right.
Because while you're sitting there espousing all these things that you want to teach those kids, and I think it's great.
Yeah.
I have no problem with that at all. But I mean, you do have the 3 R's that you have to deal with.
Right.
You know, children have to learn to read, write, and do math and so
Right.
forth.
So
So
dur-
what's your plan with that now?
So we did obtain, Jessica and Dalton did obtain a curriculum. They are actually hired a consulting, the lady is doing a consulting thing, a program, and then they have purchased that and they're using her. They have her at her full access, and she already has a full package that basically lists all of that. I'll be honest with you, I'm not the teacher. I'm the brains and the visionary. So you don't want me teaching your kids. I can go out there and teach them some flowers, but I'm not there to teach your kids. But that has all been thought out because that is the big concern about me and my wife is what happens when they get to this age. Right now, it's kindergarten through 5th. We're looking to start off 15 students in the kindergarten. And if the Lord allows, we will continue to build. And, but, you know, naturally there will come a point where they get to the grade level and they have to take a placement test, you know, to be able to see where they're at. But I will say, I asked a lot of the same exact questions that most teachers ask and parents ask to this lady in the thing. And everyone, Johnny on the spot, she has that. And she has proven results. And we're seeing kids that are scaling. And I will tell you, the curriculum is a huge investment. It's not just a little tiny piece, you know, so.
Is it a computer curriculum or you
No.
gonna have teacher instruction?
Teach and instruct it.
So you're gonna hire a certified Georgia teacher, or you gonna hire a person from her program?
No, so we are hiring, our goal is to hire a parapro and a certified teacher. We are currently working on that. We're kind of not trying to put that out in the air yet on what we're doing, but the property will be run. Jessica would be our administrator. She's the administrator, she's the owner, and she would have a parapro and she would have a teacher there, and that teacher basically will be screened. And naturally, these parents are entrusting this teacher, so we are definitely wanting to make sure that they meet our qualifications and stuff, but that will be, if this does go through, that will be released. And, you know, we're only taking 15 kids. You know, we don't even, just the word out on the street, there's 13 people mentally have signed up, have a text message signed up, I say. And, you know, ultimately, we just want to do this correctly. It needs to be structured. It doesn't need a bunch of movement. That is why it's gate contained. When the hours of operation, the school's going on, there will be nothing going on. No lawnmowers going, no activities, no events, nothing during school hours. The only time the property would be used after hours would be when school's not going on, and that would be community related for, you know, and in small businesses. I mean, the biggest thing is in the evenings, I want, Grant Triplett teaches QuickBooks. We need business owners to know how to run their business. And this is a resource that they can come, sign up, pay $10, and then go, and 40 people can gather in this house. We have a 40-person with 100-inch TVs that they can visually learn, and that's free resources and people that will give their time to help small businesses. So that's what we're trying to do in the evenings. That's for the community, for the adult side. When we use the term adult education services, but even from young women needing to learn how to nurse. And let's be honest, these young kids that don't have the resources, we need a place, a safe place in our community that people can gather and learn and feel comfortable. And that's kind of our ultimate goal about, you know, the Onyx. It's just the basic property. It's going to have multiple uses, but all uses will be community related and bringing the community together.
James, how will you take care of the athletics portion of it and like a library portion of it for the school?
Okay, so with that, we do have, with library and reading and stuff, there is curriculum that they do, but we do have, and and Jessica and them can probably elaborate a little bit more on that, but there is curriculum. In the curriculum, they have specific books and stuff, and it's, we're not trying to go K through 12. We're focusing on 1 year and then growing a concept the correct way. I think if we would have dived in and said, hey, we're trying to open a small elementary school, and a lot of people are looking, saying elementary school, you're building a whole school. We're not trying to do that. We're building it piece by piece, and I think that with the education side from the kindergarten, from kindergarten, that's what we're trying to do on that level. But with the library and stuff, we are working through that, and that was one of the things about the reading, the writing, all of that has all been laid out in the curriculum and in this program. I just don't want to misrepresent any information on the program, but I will say the program is legit, and it is something that they do work with you. They actually physically come down here. The consultants are working through this with us. They're helping everything. They go through our diagrams, and even from working with the animals, they have a full business model for the kids to be even interacting with the animals and what to teaching cross-pollination, the chickens that we have on the farm, gathering the eggs, teaching them about the eggs. They take the eggs, they put them in the I don't even know, I'm not a farmer.
Incubator.
Yes, y'all know what I'm talking about, so. But give me anything else besides farming. But ultimately, they're gonna interact, and a lot of the animals and her schools, a lot of them their partners are done through like Tractor Supply. They donate a lot. Our stuff is, me and my wife know that we are donating lots of money. We give a lot of money. A lot of people know, to our community. We own 9 companies. We would like to give a lot of our money locally that we can see our future benefit from it, because the issue is right now we are not investing. The teachers and the teachers and the staff in our school systems are doing everything they can to teach our kids. But our parents at home, they are throwing iPads in their face. They are not spending time fishing with their kids, investing time with their kids, teaching their kids how to can, teaching their kids how to sew. And that's the big thing. And the school systems can't do it all. With this, we will be able to have a small school system that we will be able to teach our kids, but we will also have the capabilities of teaching our kids the other life skills portion, and teach the community kids that are in public schools life skills programs too.
It's a lot of moving parts, James.
Well, we do. Stephanie, Stephanie is our director of the Onyx, so she is the one that handles that. Jessica and Dalton will be running the school systems. Everybody is, in place if this goes through, to make this happen and give back to the community, so.
And with the events, that'll be inside the building there, I guess we're looking up at, correct?
Right, and there will be all scheduled events. Yes, correct.
And that was one
No,
thing.
that's the small schoolhouse.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That's one thing that I think it's just, and I want
That structure is already
leave you
there.
for last. So, any time limits on the nightly events? It sounds like a great idea.
Right.
Especially the entrepreneurialism, I'd be all over that. I love that.
Right.
A lot of people need help. I bootstrap several businesses myself. I live it every day. It's hard. But like time limits, I know you got a time limit for the school. Are you willing to put a time limit on the event so the neighbors aren't affected?
Well, I definitely think with especially it being located next to a neighbor, I believe, I definitely think time limits are definitely needed. I will say most of our events that we do, just even at District Square, end at 11 o'clock, and that's in the city of Springfield. And we are in the dead center of Springfield in front of a whole rural community, and we understand the community and noise and basically the issues with parking and all of that. So I definitely am not trying to shake anybody's feathers in our community, and especially on that road. We are not living there. We will have a groundskeeper that will be keeping the property and making sure, so there will be somebody on site, and it is a gated community. It will be gated. So, unless they have a code. But our goal is 95% of the operations to be done during the day. We're not really trying to. Event venue, when I asked her about that, because I figured that would be seen, I don't want people thinking that our ultimate goal is for weddings. This is a nonprofit 501(c). It does need to produce money, let's be direct and honest, okay? But at the end of the day, we're not trying to babysit people. We have a lot of moving pieces on that property, such as animals, a school system. So for us to go out and rent it logically for a wedding, and that's a huge liability and risk to babysit a whole campus of another 30 acres that random people are going to be consuming alcohol and things like that on. And so ultimately, I will say our ultimate goal is not for it to be, it needs to be an event hall, but it needs to be focused on the actual, what we're trying to do.
Okay. So would
And
you-
then if it ever comes for expansion and we do decide we need to build, that would be where we would eventually build our grade levels, to be very honest and transparent.
Would you be opposed to conditions that would restrict that type of
Yeah,
use?
absolutely.
Okay, just wanted to toss that out there, because it may
time.
come up, right?
Time.
Put a time
Time.
limitation in it.
Biggest thing too is we just have to remember the property is 35 acres. It takes money to operate, and we do want to make money. And the property has to make money to take care of the animals and stuff, but as the stipulations and whatever needed to do, our main focus is the school and the community. It is not for us to profit from it from the venue side. So whatever regulations need to be put, we are open to that, absolutely.
So you're scaling, you said initially, I believe you initially mentioned K through 5, but then kind of also mentioned that maybe you're going to start with a K.
Well, we say K through 5. I think it's kindergarten is the year we're starting.
Right.
I don't want to talk about the future. We would love to say, hey, K through 12 on a, but let's be honest. Let's crawl before we start running. School systems are definitely, we are dealing with parents. We're dealing with a lot of stuff. So I think whatever Jessica and her husband feels led on, I think she is probably the best contendant for this project. So whatever she feels led, and the community feels led. The community will speak at the end of the day. Is the school working? Is it making it? Is it doing it? We want to see more, blah, 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 blah. I think from there, then we grow. But we will never be able to take care of, and nor will we ever say anything about our school systems, because that's the goal, is to bring our local school kids there on that property also, to interact with animals and stuff, and interact and learn how to sew, learn how to do laundry. We have an etiquette teacher coming in from Savannah, and they're going to teach 12 kids how to sit at a table and eat correctly. Tell me the last time somebody in this area has taught their kids, or that we've had an etiquette class to teach kids not to eat like cavemen.
Beth Epling.
Yeah, and
with,
James, I don't think I see this as a competition with the
No,
school.
I'm just
It's
saying-
It's more of a value, it's a value. I mean, you have choice. I mean, you can go to private
Right.
school, but
Right.
everybody can go to public school. And then you can decide, if it fits whatever your values are, or however you want to align to it. So, yeah, I mean, I personally don't see it as a competition between, it's just a value add, a personal choice at that point. Yeah, I'm sorry, Miss Beth.
No, he asked when the last time that was done, and I told him.
When was it?
When Beth Epling ran Ebenezer Alive, that was one of the things she taught him, is how to behave.
We need Beth back. Can you bring Beth
Some of
where
you
she
went
at?
through it, so you
Can
know.
Can
She was
come?
there.
We need Beth Epling. We
And
love
I'm
her.
sure there are other people, I just know
Right.
that's one I'm very familiar with.
Yeah.
Because I looked at her and said, you're just not gonna do that, and they did it, so.
Yeah.
And a
Good
lot
for
of
her.
volunteers since we've been out there. It's funny that we see this because we've seen a lot of retired educators. We see a lot of other people in the community that want to come and volunteer. And that's really what it's about, is bringing the community together and using their resources and their skills together. And that's the thing that hopefully will be a wildfire that will take.
All right, so the school is going to be the sustaining factor, the funding mechanism basically for the property?
Nope.
To a degree? No?
School will be its own thing. It's operated and stuff. Everything else on that property, either my development company will 100% pay out of pocket and donate to that 501(c), or it will be done and driven by community partners that we have lined up that want to give for the ultimate cause. And
So will there be
life skills
tuition to the school, or no?
which that's a whole separate bit. The school is for profit. It is run like a
Okay,
business.
all right, that's what I wanted to be clear on.
Yep,
All right.
and Jessica and Dalton will run that school. That is in order to pay for the teachers, get the correct curriculum and stuff, and all of that. So that will be run for profit, and basically, they would pay us very little money to the school, to the thing, and they would utilize the resources such as the animals and
So you're
stuff.
subletting the property?
Yes.
Gotcha.
Yeah,
Okay,
for them to do that.
very good. You going to send your kids there?
that's the whole goal. It was either that or Liz is gonna have to wake up early and go to Savannah, and that ain't happening.
Very
So,
good. Very good. Anything else from the board?
Not now.
Okay, very good. Anyone else here? Please come forward. And I see no one else.
I don't know if
Oh.
I'm for or against, but I do have some questions.
Okay, well, anybody in the middle, please come forward. Yeah.
No, you're in the middle.
Okay.
Anyone undecided, please come forward, yeah.
Hi, my name's Melissa Stone. I have lived on Old Tusculum Road for 47 years. And, you know, it's been a family owned both sides of the roads for many, many years. So some of the concerns I have is traffic and with the event venue saying there's just a lot going on, whether it's a school or event venue happening, like the hours, will there be alcohol? How will you like distinguish between the hours of when you can have alcohol and when kids are on the land, feeding animals or doing life skills projects? There's also a registered sex offender on the road, and that concerns me. So another thing is what kind of safety will be set up for the after-school programs and during the day for the students. I am a special education teacher, so I'm all in favor of all the life skills, like bring it on. I just want to make sure that the codes and everything's legal and everybody's safe, and you know, there's a fine line. I work at the school, you know, you don't drink and go to school events. Will it be the same as their school with things happening? If he's rented the event for the weekend, because I did think I heard him say that there'll be 3 different events going on throughout the year where he'll have vendors, you know, will there be alcohol at those vendors? Like, I just would like some guidelines set up and questions about that. Looking at my notes to see if I.
Well, one thing real quick on touching on the hours, if I heard him correctly, school would be 9 to 3, Monday through Thursday. I guess for the general school portion, and if there was a event afterwards, that would definitely be after school hours, is the way I understood it.
Right.
Okay.
And then we control those conditions of that up here, so we would set those guidelines based upon, if approved, what, you know, we feel would fit the community. Alcohol could be permitted or not permitted. I mean, that's completely up to this board to decide if they decide to approve it. As far as the sex offender thing, if there's anyone from your staff, James, that could elaborate on that, so to answer that question, or anything school-related outside of functions that we control.
So just so you know, there is a registered sex offender it is down the road. We are familiar with the sex offender. We actually know of the sex offender, and, you know, so we have heard it is from down the road. I mean, naturally, we live in a world where sex offenders are all the way around us. We do have gates on the property that was for one of the security. The property is fully equipped with full camera system that does record. So we've already put that in there, so that is already on the property. I think we have 22 cameras on site that is recording on a cloud backup. As of the 3 events, to elaborate on the 3 events, these 3 events are community events that we would be offering a year. One would be an Easter event, one would be a Christmas event with a live nativity scene with partnerships with 3 churches that we've already spoke with. So none of these are these are all community related. As for the venue itself, no alcohol would be served on the property while there is any kids on the property. The property is the venue itself over there. If somebody books it, it will be pre-booked. It will be screened on what it is being booked for. At the end of the day, there is enough wedding venues and venues around here in our community, as we know. This spot, if somebody comes and let's just use the Cure wanted to come out there and use the property or whatever. if it's done correctly and it's done and it's structured correctly, we would allow them, but they would go through a screening process. That is kind of why we did not want to sit here and say, hey, we're not looking to do weddings and stuff. We're looking to do events, but alcohol, let's be honest, on charity and galas is needed at times for the right structure, but it can be a case-by-case scenario. I mean, we're open to it, but ultimately there will be no alcohol on property during the hours while kids are there for the school, and then while kids are there after hours, from the hours of 4 to 8 o'clock for the after-school life skills program, the venue would not be operating at all. There will never be an event going on in the event venue with anything going on the lawn. So that would be a private thing. If a church comes in on Sunday and wants to have a revival, they would go in there, they would have the revival. That's how it is. If somebody wants to come in and they want to host a 40-person bridal luncheon upstairs of the house itself or something like that, that would be brought in. But as of entertaining and us, we have too much to lose by bringing in large parties and things like that. We are trying to place, the ultimate goal for this whole thing is for the school. So.
I was just looking up Georgia law for sex offenders is 1,000 feet from school.
Yes, and it is.
I'm assuming we couldn't, as much as it's horrible, put an undue burden on somebody that lived in that area already. So are they within that range?
They are down. Yeah, they're farther than 1,000 feet.
Very good. All right.
So, and it is gate contained with digital thing, and then the software that Jessica is using, everything is done with the consultants. They have to register. We track the kids when they get dropped off through camera. They take the only electronics that's used with an iPad when they register. You drop your kid off, the parent has to take the iPad, put the number in, and sign that they've dropped their kid off, and the iPad goes back out when the time they pick it, and it just keeps the record, so there's no issues with parents not bringing, because we do have to operate by the standard, 900 hours or whatever it is, that they're required to operate a certain amount of hours, even being a private school, a year. So all of that has to be met, and the records have to be kept. So the only digital that is going to be used on that property would be for the accountability and security, but we are trying to, we're not trying to use laptops or iPads or anything in the school to actually teach the kids. It's all, paper and pencil.
Old school.
Old school.
Yeah.
So.
Well, wouldn't somewhere in our ordinance already address the timing of, I guess, events? I mean, as far as hours? I mean, I would think we already have something in place
I was looking
for
at
that.
the Orchard would be one that would be similar off McCall Road, but the situation with that, it's a lot of AR around there, and I'm not sure who lives actually on the property, if that's the owners that live on the property as well.
Yeah.
That was the only, outside of the other event venue on Hodgeville Road, I
Hodgeville.
believe.
So most of those close at 11 o'clock. Usually they have, and their ordinances usually say that either they have a 10 o'clock where, there's no alcohol after 10 and music off by 11, but I mean, we're willing to meet. I don't feel that with it being in enclosed venue and stuff like that, we should have a huge issue with noise ordinances and stuff, because we're not really looking to, most of the stuff will be done inside in the air condition, hopefully. But I do understand the community's concerns and stuff with that, so I respect that, so.
Understood. Okay, thank you, Jane.
Any other question?
Anyone else in the middle, please come forward.
Hello.
Hello.
My name is Lisa Clark. My family owns the 22 acres that directly abuts this property. I have very definite concerns about the traffic. My access to the road sits on a very dangerous curve as it is. We've had a mailbox taken out 3 times on 3 separate occasions for people coming around that curve at such a speed. But also, I have to tell you, I'm really concerned about the noise. We still raise cattle just for our own consumption, but we have cows out there. And I have very definite concerns for all of it. Not to mention the fact that I'm a nurse. I get up very early, and my daughter works for the school system. She's up very early. I don't want noise all night long while I'm trying to get up at, 4 a.m. to go to work.
Yes, ma'am.
Speaking of that, just to have your opinion, if you don't mind, you know, if this thing were to go, and I have no idea where it will or not, but what would be a time that would be preferable that things would stop for you? What would be?
8:30, 9 o'clock would be great to us, because we're all in bed by then, you know what I'm saying? So, I mean, you know.
Just looking,
it's just-
you're immediately adjacent to the property.
I
in front of
am
it, or?
immediately adjacent, yes, sir. I have 22 acres.
Yes, ma'am.
Which parcel number is yours?
1471 is where
That's
you,
the one,
which is,
1471.
if you're looking at the property, if you're looking out from the property to Old Tuscan, it should be the right-hand side, the immediate right-hand side.
And it sits
There
on a
is
very.
a buffer between it presently, a vegetated buffer. I'm not sure how thick it is. I'm looking at the top of the map, but,
Vegetated buffers don't stop noise.
right. So there is that. Okay.
I like them, but they don't stop noise.
Yeah. Very good. Anything else, ma'am?
No, that's it.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else here opposed, please come forward.
So that's my mom, actually. So we do live in the property next door. I do have a new driver who just started driving, and that curve is a concern every day when she pulls out to go to the high school. I do worry about, we bought property for the school district out here and also for peace and quiet, and I gotta tell a funny story, but sometime around Christmas, I went outside in my pajamas with a cup of coffee on a Saturday morning, and I heard noise, and I looked over, and Santa Claus was right there at the tree line, so. I don't know what that was about, but Santa was out there, and they were taking pictures with a bunch of people, so. Yeah, so I'm just a little concerned, like, we do enjoy the peace and quiet out there. I still wanna be able to go to the backyard in my pajamas, but I don't know if we're gonna be able to do that with a school. And, to bring up the registered sex offender, I know you said down the road, but he's actually the property right next to us, so.
So we got 1471, 1501, and 1567.
I don't know his exact address, he does not have a mailbox.
It's 3 parcels down, correct? It's more than 1,000 feet.
So if you're facing the property to the right or to the left? If you're looking out from the property at Old,
To the right.
okay.
Right, you have my grandfather right there.
Mm-hmm.
You have an open area of field, which he, not my grandfather, but
Have Lloyd Maddox,
that's my grandfather.
okay.
And then the,
Julian
that's
Hyman?
him,
Okay.
yes.
Okay.
So he owns that field there and then the property adjacent to
And I
that.
guess, Lee, maybe you can clarify this for me. Is, if you were to allow a school there and it's 1,000 feet, is it 1,000 feet from the building or 1,000 feet from the property line, either way?
I'd have to look at the statute to tell you that. I don't know off the top of my head.
I think it's something we need to know. Because we couldn't pass something and, you know, have somebody there, which would put them out of compliance with their stuff as much as, I don't want to accommodate anybody that is a registered sex offender, but.
Now, the school is a permitted use, right, in the zoning?
It's conditional.
I must be looking at an older version, apparently.
Or, where's that TPU at? Can we throw that up on the screen?
That's what I was.
So we're saying the registered offender
Yeah, the
maybe within
registered
1,000
offender's
feet
property-
of the
his-
property line?
His property line is just from the edge of
I'm
this
looking at
property
an older
line to
version.
his parcel's 469.60 feet.
It's updated Muni code.
So that's where I need to know, is it from the building steps, the corner of each building, or to his residence, or is it property-based? Because, again, I would never want to accommodate a sex offender, but I can't put something there that allows him not to live there anymore, basically. Yep, while we're still moving. Anyone else here opposed?
Yes, sir. I'm William D. Cannon, 318-24. It's 1390 Brogdon Road.
Yes, sir.
I'm specifically opposed to the venue part of it. I don't have a problem with the school and the hours being where they are, but I have to be at work at 5 a.m. So I'm getting up pretty early. I'm gonna hear every door slam every time somebody locks their doors and it honks. the horn on a venue, something like that. So I'd like to be on the record for being against that, for the noise, the traffic. The other items, not so much, even though the elementary school, every owner in that area is I'm gonna presume, a legal firearm owner, and basically hunts in their backyard, like I do. So they're, particularly between October and December, they're gonna hear a lot of noise. So, anyway, that's my opposition, basically.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else?
What I'm seeing is property line to property line.
Hmm.
What I'm seeing, I don't know how accurate it is, but it
So
says,
it is property line to property line?
whatever, and it refers to OCGA 42-112.
And I'll just put this out to the board, is this something that we want to consider, you know, tabling and getting a little bit more research done? You know, allowing the property owner to get with staff and do a little bit more on this, given.
215.
Yeah, I was not aware, I was not aware of that piece.
Yeah, and it just popped into my head, so.
Yeah.
So property line to property line, so the statute reads.
Everything I'm seeing, yeah.
That's who it is.
Need to probably do better research than what I've got, but
Sure.
I don't
And
know
the
how far
only
away
way
it
that
is.
that would
That's who it is.
would not come into play is I assume that would have to be reparceled, that property would have to be reparceled in the school
Not that it
place
matters. but that's who it is.
outside of those parameters. So you have to subdivide the property basically at that point.
Yeah, that may be a possibility, and it
But-
applies to daycare, churches, parks, playgrounds.
You know, if the board moves to table this so it can go back to staff, that's something staff can work out with those possibilities in there as well. So, we're still having a public hearing. Anyone else here opposed? Okay. Being there are none, I'll close the public hearing, open up for discussion.
Yeah, I had a previous conversation with the applicant, and you know, they had expressed the overview of what they were trying to do, and kind of with this offender with property line to property line, that was a curveball. I wasn't aware of that. So with that being said, I mean, I know y'all want to move forward, but I would feel much better to table it just to the next meeting, just so we can know exactly, you know, the details.
And I'm just curious, so is that standard like any daycares or anything with kids? Because how I was under understanding from door to door, how like with alcohol, with how we, like how the crow flies, that's what I was under understanding. And, so with all of that, even like daycares and everything, that is regulated.
Okay, I'll read you the code as it reads. No individual shall reside within 1,000 foot of any child care facility, church, school, or area where minors congregate if the commission of the act for which such individual is required to register occurred on or after July 1st, 2008. Such distance be determined by measuring the outer boundary of the property on which the individual resides to the outer boundary of the property of the child care facility, church, school, or area where minors congregate at their closest points. So as I was saying, if you
Yeah, that's
wanted
even-
to push this
That's bus stops
forward,
too.
you may have to reparcel your property to move it outside of that area. And then you have, you know, other pieces that may come into play too for conditions or buffers or whatever at that point. So just something to think about. I think it's best, I don't have a vote on it, but I would suggest that we table it, take it back to staff. You've heard from your partners in the community or your neighbors. Maybe, you know, find some happy medium, maybe meet with them and talk to them directly, come back forward, and maybe this can be smooth all the way around, so. With that, I will entertain a motion if there's one to be made.
Yeah, I'm going to make a motion, and I'll make a comment after the motion. For right now, I want to make a motion to table this item to our next meeting, the first meeting in May.
A motion on the floor. Do we have a second?
Second.
A motion and a second. All in favor? None opposed. Motion carries.
And I just want to point out, since we've tabled this at the first meeting in May, this will be heard in our old business section at 5 o'clock. Because a lot of times we get folks get confused. They come back at 6 and then they miss their item. So just next meeting, be here at 5.
Very good. Thank you, guys. All right, moving into item 7. It's a public hearing, consideration to approve an application by Sean Sykes for a variance from section 5.1, located at 180 Clayton's Bluff, to allow for decrease in required building setbacks in AR1. Map number 471, parcel number 32 in the 4th District.
Thank you. Kimberly Barlett, Senior Planner. The variance request seeks to modify the required building setbacks to allow the applicant to construct a residence on the property. The proposed home does not meet the required 25-foot side setbacks and is proposed to be located approximately 15 feet on each side of the property line, necessitating a variance. So the request is 15 feet is proposed, so a 10-foot variance. The parcel is agricultural residential on the future land use map. The request is consistent with the future land use map and aligns with the intent of the zoning district. The proposal is unlikely to create adverse effects on surrounding properties. Based on the evidence presented and findings contained in this report, staff finds that the request satisfies the variance criteria contained in Article 9. The hardship associated with the request arises from the physical characteristics of the property, specifically its narrow width and limited size, which make it difficult to meet AR1 setback requirements.
Okay, and this is obviously non-conforming, so. Very good. If the applicant has anything they want to add, please come forward.
Hey, how y'all?
Good.
Good.
Yeah, we actually went in this together, and you know, there was a trailer there before on the property, and it's already got the well and septic tank on it. And what we did was went back where the old trailer was, and we did not meet the 25, but we did go with the 15-foot. You know, we searched for a trailer that would go right back where the old one was. And I think that we called up here a couple times, and they said as long as there was one there, we can put one back, as long as it went back where it was at.
I was going to ask, is what you're buying the same? I'm not sure how it works with with mobile homes, so I know if you're not making any changes to your property structurally, you're doing like for example, it burned up. And you were
See,
replacing it with a like
that's
for
what I dealt
like.
with in Clio one time.
Right.
They had a mobile home that burned, and they set it right back down in the same spot.
Yeah, I had a Mustang, my Merc burned up, and now I just bought another Mustang, same thing. So, and I'll ask staff, was the previous building, I'm sure we have a record of what was there before from the tax ad valorem. Is it the same size or anything?
Well, the tie downs that are still there on the property, I measured them out and went with that, so, you know, that's pretty close.
Yeah, it should be.
And this is the letter that we've got in our packet with the neighbors expressing support on this, correct?
Yes.
Okay. The Huttos.
Yeah, I mean,
I just went and kind of did some
I'm
spot
trying to avoid
measuring,
the whole,
and
you know,
all those parcels are
exactly the same.
narrow,
yeah.
smaller setbacks.
Right. I was just trying to forego the whole hearing.
Almost like a mini Westwood
Replace it with like for
situation.
like, so,
Yeah.
yeah. Okay. Very good. We have anything else from Mr. Sykes at all, or? Very good, thank you.
Good,
Thank you.
thank you.
Mhm.
God bless y'all.
Thank you. Anyone else here for? Please come forward. Anyone else here opposed? Please come forward. Or excuse me, anyone here opposed, because was anybody come up in the first place? All right, being there are none, I'll close the public hearing, turn over to the board for discussion.
Unless anybody has any kind of main concern, it looks like he's just replacing what was there, so unless y'all.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Unopposed, motion carries. Moving to the second reading, consideration to approve the second reading from application by Sean Sykes for variance from section 5.1, located at 180 Clayton's Bluff, to allow for a decrease in required building setbacks in AR1. map number 471A, parcel number 32 in the 4th District. I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the second
Second.
reading.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
None opposed, motion carries. Very good, guys.
Good to go.
All right.
Take care.
Item 9 is public hearing, consideration to approve an application by Gloria Durance for variance from section 5.1 located on Floyd Avenue to allow for a decrease in required building setbacks in AR1, map number 296, parcel number 51 in the 3rd District.
Thank you. Kimberly Barlett, Senior Planner. The variance request seeks to modify the required buildings setbacks to allow the applicant to construct a home on the property. The proposed home would not meet the required 25-foot side setbacks. Instead, the structure is proposed to be located approximately 19 feet on each side of the line, necessitating a variance. Parcel is designated in agricultural residential on the future land use map. The request is consistent with the future land use map and aligns with the intent of the zoning district. The proposal is unlikely to adversely affect surrounding properties. Based on the evidence presented and findings contained in this report, staff finds that the request satisfies the variance criteria contained in Article 9. The hardship associated with this request arises from the physical characteristics of the property, specifically its narrow width and limited size, which make it difficult to meet the current AR1 setback requirements.
Very good, thank you. If the applicant has anything they want to add, please come forward.
Hi, how are you?
Good.
I just want to build a house in there for my husband and I, a small house, if is that okay?
That's
You
pretty
just
much
asked
it.
if that was
Very
okay.
simple. I don't know what to
How much
say.
else is
Yeah.
that?
I'm just saying that the other couples, you know what I mean? I'm short on food, you know? So
That
I
was-
just want to build a house for
That was a
both of us.
first, thank you.
I appreciate it, thank you.
Yes. That was quick and to the point. Anyone else here for, please come forward. If anyone here is opposed, please come forward. Being I see none, I'll close the public hearing and open it up for discussion.
Seems straightforward to me. No one has any heartburn. I'll make a motion to approve the variance.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
None opposed, motion carries. Moving to the second reading. Consideration to approve the second reading for an application by Gloria Durance for a variance from section 5.1 located on Floyd Avenue to allow for a decrease in required building setbacks in AR1, map number 296, parcel number 51 in the 3rd District.
Make a motion to approve the second reading.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
None opposed, motion carries. To answer your question, yes, ma'am, it's okay.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Go sleep now, right? Thank you.
Yes, you're welcome.
Y'all do.
All right, item 11 is a public hearing. Consideration to approve an application by Dwayne Gilchrist for a variance from section 3.21.1 located on 143 Laurel Circle to allow for an RV camper to be occupied during the renovation of a home in AR2, map number 302, parcel number 84A in the 1st District.
Thank you. Kimberly Barlett, Senior Planner. The variance request seeks to allow the temporary occupancy of a camper on the property while the existing mobile home is undergoing renovation. The home has been deemed uninhabitable due to mold. The proposed renovation work is limited to cosmetic improvements, therefore a building permit is not required. The project will not include exterior modifications, electrical work, or plumbing. Based on the evidence presented and the findings contained in this report, staff finds that the request satisfies the variance criteria. Allowing limited temporary use of the camper provides a reasonable solution that enables the applicant to remain on-site while ensuring the timely completion of the renovation. Staff finds that the request represents a minimum necessary relief and if approved, shall be subject to the following appropriate stipulations. 1, the RV and camper may be occupied up to 12 months during the home renovation. Should an extension be needed, the applicant shall come before the Board of Commissioners for approval. Upon completion of the renovation, camper shall be vacated and disconnected from well and septic.
Very good, thank you. If the applicant has anything they want to add, please come forward.
Dwayne Gilchrist.
Hey.
I have a quick question. I had a call from one of your neighbors. Have you already, the camper's already there?
Yeah.
Are you already occupying the camper?
Yes,
Okay. Is the house empty?
It is,
Okay.
yeah.
That's,
So what happened was, we have a brand-new mobile home there, two-bedroom mobile home, brand new, was placed there in 2024. Had a defect from the factory. It leaked underneath the kitchen, had a pipe break underneath the kitchen, unbeknownst to us. So that pipe break went on for quite some time. Clayton Homes came out to do a repair. They didn't do a very good repair, and over time, this was last summer, over time, we got into a mold situation. A fairly severe one, but we went through our insurance company, and we're working with the insurance company, and we've started the renovations inside the mobile home. It probably gonna take maybe about 2 months to get everything squared away.
and then after that,
And then after that, we'll terminate the septic, and my son and his wife will go back into the mobile home.
yeah, that was the complaint, that there was somebody was already living in the mobile home and
Yeah.
you were,
Yeah, unfortunately, one of my neighbors is, he's having a tough time with, he's up in years, and he's having a tough time with having a mobile home there. You know, so
okay,
Yeah.
one or the other.
Okay.
yeah, exactly,
Okay.
right. And we're not trying to start a trailer park out there, you
I
know,
understand.
it's only like, you know, it's not a very big lot, so.
Right.
And we filed for a variance when we put that in there to get the setbacks reduced, and we've done everything legally, but there's no consoling him, he's just, he's very irritated with the whole situation, so.
Yeah. We will focus on you. And if he's here, he can speak to it. Anything else you'd like to add, sir?
No, that's it.
Very good, thank you. And just for clarity, you said this is, insurance is taking care of this, is financing the project?
Yeah, we've already got a check from the insurance company, so
Gotcha.
we're proceeding with the
and-
renovations now. I've got pictures of it, we've got it all plasticed off, and we've got the kitchen cabinets are out now, so.
Yeah, well, I mean, we'll be able to monitor through permitting and inspections anyway for that, so, good, thank you. All right. Very good. Anyone else here please come forward. If anyone here is opposed, please come forward. Being I see none, I'll close the public hearing.
Coming up.
Open this up for discussion. Josh, was there anything you wanted to add to this at all? Okay, just making sure. I saw you stand up, so I wanted to be sure. Okay. I did have a question. Was this a code enforcement piece, or?
No, sir.
Okay, so this was completely voluntary? Great, thank you. All right. Board?
We're good, I mean, we do this all the time.
Okay. Is that a motion?
Yeah, I'll make a motion, we approve the variance.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor? None opposed. Motion carries. Item 12, second reading. Consideration to approve the second reading for an application by Dwayne Gilchrist for a variance from section 3.21.1 located at 143 Laurel Circle to allow for a RV camper to be occupied during the renovation of a home in AR2, map number 302, parcel number 84A in the first district. I'll entertain a motion.
Make a motion, we approve the second reading.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
None opposed. Motion carries. Okay. Tim, do we have a need for executive session tonight?
Just a quick one. I just want to give you a brief update on one project.
Okay, great. With that, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn into executive
I'll
session.
make a motion to go into executive session to discuss personnel, property, and pending litigation.
Good. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a second. Motion second. All in favor?
Aye.
None opposed. Motion carries. Thank you, guys. Pen.
All right, everybody. I just need you all to stick around till we're done.